Did I hear Dr. Saunders? What's that? Between 2 and 3.
It turned out I was trying to hang up and hang up because Eric's in here.
I mean, it was on. Yeah, exactly. Right here.
It was John Collins, so if you recognize the voice, he
don't know who it is.
Yeah. But I thought, oh my gosh, I wish that had been like somebody who would be like. Of course, then I think I was.
My email?
Yeah, we've still got a minute. This your chair.
I don't want anybody moving any cabinets or anything. I will come up on the weekend with my little sliders and I will move everything.
That's not who she's talking
Where y'all going?
She's talking about her.
No, it's because you got too many people to know.
Yes.
Mr. Bradbury,
Dawn is on the phone.
she can hear us okay? Okay. All right, we'll get started in just a moment.
No, this is.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, please make sure that you turn down your computer so we don't get feedback and reverb. And we'll be starting in just a minute.
Okay, thank you.
Charter panel, any objection to get started? Yeah. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. The March 15th, 2017 meeting of the Charter Authorizing Panel is called to order. I'd like to welcome everyone to the Department of Education auditorium. Please silence all electronic devices at this time. The Charter Authorizing Panel oversees the authorization, renewal, revision, and revocation of charters. The Arkansas Quality Charter Schools Act of 2013 requires the Commissioner to appoint the Department of Education staff to the panel. On July 1, 2015, Commissioner Key named 9 members to the Charter Authorizing Panel. He recently filled one vacant position, and that is with Ms. Lisa Haley, our Director of Special Ed. Also on the panel, Mr. Bobby Lester, Coordinator of Federal Programs, Mr. Greg Rogers, Assistant Commissioner of Fiscal Administration, Dr. Eric Saunders, Assistant Commissioner of Research and Technology, Ms. Annette Barnes, who is absent today, Dr. Ivy Pfeffer, Assistant Commissioner for Educator Effectiveness and Licensure, Ms. Stacy Smith, Assistant Commissioner of Learning Services, Ms. Debbie Kaufman, our Chief of Staff and Chair, is en route. She will be here shortly. So for the moment, you have me, Dr. Mark Gocher, as your Vice Chair, serving as Chair for the moment. As Chair, the goal is to facilitate a fair and responsible hearing. I'll request that each person speaking please state your name and title for the record. I'll ask that you continue to speak clearly into the microphone, and just a note, you need to be just with a few inches of that microphone in order to be heard. And you're welcome to take it from its stand if you need to, for the benefit of the panel, the audience, and of course the viewing audience. The entire meeting is being live streamed and recorded. Ms. Sharon Hill, our court reporter, will be providing a transcript of the meeting, and it will be posted on our website. Staff attorneys, Ms. Jennifer Davis and General Counsel Ms. Lori Freno. At this time, please explain the hearing process and the process of how the Charter Authorizing Panel will report to the State Board for consideration of review or not review of the panel's decision. Ms. Davis, good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon. Jennifer Davis, staff attorney for the department. The first two action items today will have the same procedure, so I'll go ahead and go over both of those now. And then when we get to the third item, we'll do the different procedures. And the procedures for both of these amendments will be that the applicant will have 20 minutes to make its argument to you for its amendment. There will be 20 minutes collectively for opposition. After that, there will be 5 minutes rebuttal time. You can ask any questions that you need to of any department staff or the applicant before you make your decision. And additionally, since we do have a lot of people, just a reminder that all persons, with the exception of attorneys, will need to be sworn in that do provide any testimony to you today.
Very well. Thank you, Ms. Davis.
Thank you.
Panel, at this time, there is no chair's report, so we'll move into item 2, the consent agenda. And does anyone have any questions regarding the February 15th minutes of the Charter Authorizing Panel? If none, I'll have a motion to accept the minutes.
Make a motion to accept.
Motion to accept by Dr. Saunders. Second by Mr. Bobby Lester. All in favor? All opposed, same sign. All right, consent agenda, motion is passed. All right, per the instructions of Ms. Davis, we'll move into our action item. Action item number 1, request for open enrollment charter school, Arkansas Connections Academy. Ms. Perry, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Virginia Perry, Program Advisor for the Charter Unit. Action item 1 is Arkansas Connections Academy amendment request, and on the phone we have Ms. Darla Gardner.
Ms. Darla Gardner, can you hear us at this time?
Yes, I can.
All right, welcome to the telephone.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good afternoon.
All right,
Hi.
I'm doing well. We'll give the floor to you at this time, and per the instructions, you have 20 minutes. But before we do so, forgive me, thank you, Mr. Bradbury. Will all the representatives from the charter and anyone speaking in opposition please stand to receive the oath? And Ms. Gardner, I'll assume that you're doing that on your end. And now, do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Gardner. All right, you may begin.
Thank you. I'm Darla Gardner, the school leader at Arkansas Connections Academy, and I'm here today to request the rescission of 2 waivers. These waivers can be found in the charter amendment request form that was submitted to the board. We worked with the ADE, and we determined that the waivers are no longer needed by Arkansas Connections Academy, and we just would like to resend those, and thank you for your consideration.
All right, thank you, Ms. Gardner. Anyone in opposition? All right, if none, Ms. Gardner, you have 5 additional minutes should you need them.
I don't need them at this time.
All right, thank you, Ms. Gardner. Panel, it's up to you for questions at this time. Does anyone have any questions regarding this action item? Seeing no questions, I'll accept a motion to approve the amendment.
I'll make a motion to approve the amendment.
Motion by Dr. Saunders, second by Mr. Rogers. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, motion passes. Thank you, Ms. Gardner.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time, and thank you for making this a quick agenda item. Appreciate that.
Thank you. Have a good afternoon.
You as well. Thank you. All right, Ms. Perry, I believe we have action item number 2.
Yes, sir. Action agenda item number 2.
I'm sorry?
We need to do our voting sheet.
Oh, that's right. Sitting in this chair, I don't have to do the voting sheets, so why don't we do the voting sheets at this time? Thank you, Ms. Perry. Sorry about that, panel. Small technicality. We'll begin with Ms. Haley.
I voted to approve the request and have no concerns.
Mr. Lester.
I voted to approve. I have no concerns with the amendments.
Dr. Pfeffer.
I voted to approve the amendment.
Mr. Rogers.
I voted for. I don't have any concerns with the amendment.
Dr. Saunders.
Voted for it. I had no concerns.
And finally, Ms. Smith.
I voted for, no concerns.
All right, thank you, panel members. Ms. Perry, is it a good time to move to action item 2?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you.
Action agenda item number 2 is an amendment request from the School for Integrated Academies and Technologies, or SciTech. And the chief presenter for this amendment request is Superintendent Katie Tatum.
Ms. Tatum, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Dr. Gocher and panel members.
Excuse me just a moment. We need to go ahead and before we do that, Ms. Tatum, would all representatives from the charter and anyone speaking in opposition please stand to receive the oath? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? All right, thank you. You may be seated. Thank you, Ms. Tatum. 20 minutes has begun.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Gocher. I'm coming before the panel today because we would like to implement waiver 616-102 that we already have for school day hours.
Well, I mean, we didn't hear you, that's why I was just making sure. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
You need to start over?
No, you're good. It's
Oh.
okay, yeah. Take it, play, sorry.
Okay, let me reboot.
Okay.
So at this time, we would like to show our presentation and then we'll speak. Is that okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Tatum.
So Wendell and Brian will go through research as this is going on.
Good afternoon. My name is Wendell Bryant, and I'm going to be speaking a little bit on the first aspects of the presentation. And the first thing is about the students' attendance. The reason that we are asking for this is because many of our students are of an older age, and they are working adults. Some of them are head of household. Some of them have 2, 3 children that they are tending to. So when you have these kind of things that are impacting attendance, we have to do things and have to have measures in order to address it. And so in addition to that, we're planning on this particular aspect to improve learning for our students because we're going to be extending the days on Tuesday and Thursday, which will allow scaffolding efforts and allow differentiated learning for our students as well, allows teachers to do scaffolding measures within the classroom as well as co-teaching. That'll help retention with our students in their academic areas. We expect a boost in academics because we are expecting a boost in attendance. We're also expecting for our students to be able to be more present, which will help retention with their academics and their learning. A 4-day school week does not mean less class time. It actually is spread out in the earlier part of the week. It's just we're going to have an extended day or 2 extended days so that we can spread that time out throughout the week. And that's just a little bit of statistics based on 4-day school weeks.
So what you see, we've been working with ADE School Improvement Specialist, Sharissa White, and due to our uniqueness, she said, what's your main barrier that you're facing? Well, we just been all over attendance this year because to date, we only have 12 graduates, and we average about 30 or 40. We're known to have 2 graduations a year in December and in June. And so the kids, for one thing, we have a high incarceration this year, and then older students, and they're not coming to school. So we've been tracking this really back in the spring when I did research on it. And you can see, and I know you guys are saying, well, why the spike right there at the end of, in November and December. Well, we had a lot of seniors who transferred in. They only needed 1 or 2 credits. So they're coming every day, even the students who only need maybe 2 credits. So they're attending every day because they're waiting on their December graduation. So we ended up getting 12 finished, and the spike just dropped kind of off. So those that didn't make it, that we had already planned to make it, I don't know if they kind of give up, but then they're like, I'm not coming on Fridays. I started to work on Fridays. So for them in this population, in this unique model, their work week starts Friday. They may work 1 or 2 days during the week, but we can bet they're gonna be out. So on Friday, since then, 19% attendance, on Fridays. So we broke it down by grade level. In your packet, you will see the numbers. I think it was 50 or something for the 9th graders. One thing we need to realize, this is not a traditional school. It's as non-traditional as you can get. So 9th grade, they're 17 and 18. They're not 14 and 15. They're adults. We're open entry, open exit. We enroll new students every day. Since the first of the month, we've enrolled 12 new students. 12. So, I know people say, what are you gonna do with those 9th graders? Well, they're adults. We have about, I think Ms. Taylor pulled about 18 to 20, actual 15, and so most of those are 16 and our kids work. But you can see the spike is broken down into numbers, and you'll see who was attending, like I said, during November and December. So we use Valley Catering for our meal service. So in November, our bill for breakfast and lunch for 1 month was $1,200. February is $500. So, I'm thankful they're able to let us change the numbers. They understand our open entry, open exit. They don't need to fix food for 100 kids when only 25 are there. So we're able, but we've been doing that all year long, and I just wanted to give you a snapshot of that.
In order for us to address our students and address things that are barriers to our students, what we have to do is do a survey with our students. They can address their barriers better than we can. So when we did our survey, we saw that 49% of our respondents were missing school at least 1 day a week, and that day is usually Friday. Because of the reasons that Ms. Tatum stated earlier, as far as working or having to care for children or having to get in to the workplace in order to make their money in, because some of them are head of household. You can see as well that students who attended less than 5 days, there was 74%. Of those percentage of students, what you will find is that many of them had transportation barriers then. So we had that broken down on the next slide. That's okay. So you would see that we asked them personally, they had a very confidential way of answering these questions so that they would not tell off on themselves or put their personal business out there or anything. But we did want to know seriously, what are your barriers to being able to attend school? And these were the top responses that we received from our students that took our survey. So you see that having to work or personal issues at home, lack of transportation, those are the ones that are falling at the top, but we can't necessarily address all of those, but we do try to address other wraparound services for our students that might, have drug addiction or may have depression or need mental or behavioral therapy services as well.
We pride ourselves on, I don't know what it's called, when we just wrap our arms around our kids, and to see of the students who took the survey, 0 were being bullied. And bullying is huge in school districts now. Middle school on up, kids are bullying, students are taking their lives. So they just kind of fit in. I asked Ms. Taylor to pull the numbers of ALE students. I think we're up to 46 students from other alternative schools, and 3 that registered this week come from North Little Rock Academy. So they were actually looking for the alternative room, although we have an alternative program approved. And I said, you just sit right there with regular kids and do your work. But we pride ourselves on that. And on the other students, after they would take the survey on a Google Docs, you know, they'd come to the office and they said, Ms. Tatum, I didn't on other. And I said, why did y'all mark others? They were like, I didn't have any clean clothes. You know, and I mean, it's really sad. It's very sad. And another young man said, well, you know, both of my parents are incarcerated, so I have to catch a ride or bum a ride to go see them when I can. So we try not to ask too many questions, because a lot of days we're not prepared for the answers.
So here we have listed some benefits of a 4-day week. And so a flexibility with the students' work schedule, so they're able to attend work a little bit more and attend school a little bit more as well. It also helps with childcare for students who have difficulties getting someone to watch their child 5 days a week, especially on Fridays when most persons are trying to do their own agendas. You know, that frees up that flexibility for our students. An extended day will also help students who are close to a deadline, help keep them engaged longer, and also give them opportunities to work with teachers on a more personable basis, because there'll be time for student-based learning, there'll be time for peer interventions, there'll be time for scaffolding learning within the classroom, there'll be time for a lot of things that teachers will be able to do with the students within the classroom. It also increases academic retention, because they'll be there longer during the school day in the earlier part of the week, and will not miss that information that they would have missed on Friday anyway.
So some incentives, since our students wear uniforms, and we like for them to show their own personal side, we offer dress down passes, and teachers can hand those out at any time during the week. And they can wear those at any time, dress down at any time during the week. So they really work hard, because I wouldn't have liked to wear uniforms. I wanted to wear my own clothes and shoes. And so those are big. We just had a huge pizza party for 34 kids who were able to dress down and participate in the party for making their reading and math games. SciTech t-shirts, the blue t-shirts, they love those. They can wear those at any time. We always highlight a student of the month. And we have students who become peer leaders or ambassadors. And those students will pull from class to show potential prospective students around, or parents, and let them answer the questions. We step back and let the students take ownership of their school and, of course, their learning. So we put that slide in there for graduates, as you can see, like I said earlier, to date, 12. And of those 12, I meant to say that we have about, I think, 8 to 10 that's incarcerated, that's 1 credit away, 1.5 credits away. So we're trying to work with probation officers to see if we can get them back on campus. Before I go on any further, I'd like to bring Brooke Turner up. She's a DYS case manager out of Saline County.
Ms. Turner, please identify yourself for the record, please.
Hi, I am Brooke Turner, Digby, actually. I just got married not too long ago. And I work for Saline County. I am a DYS aftercare provider, and I provide case management services for juvenile delinquents of Saline County. I came into contact with SciTech approximately 6 months ago or so, and it has really been a lifesaver for a lot of my kids. My kids average 40 to 60 hours of community service. They have to randomly be drug screened throughout the week. They are ordered into individual and family counseling services. They also have to maintain employment. And it's really hard to do all the things they're being ordered to do when they have to go to school 5 days a week and go to work. It's like, where do you find all the time to do these things that the judges are asking these kids to do? I think it would be really beneficial if they had a Friday off in order to meet with their counselor or get in the extra 8 hours of community service. Judges like to see they expect them to get in anywhere from 15 to 20 hours in a week or two period of time, which is almost impossible. And that's picking up a couple hours after school each day, and then having to find the community service is really hard these days as well. A lot of people don't want my kids coming into their place and working for them. And not to mention, before I took this position with DYS, I personally worked in an ALE environment, and I can't express how stressful it can be day in and day out working in that type of environment from a provider's perspective. I think the staff would work better and be more refreshed if they too had a day off for that Friday just to catch up on paperwork and notes and documentation or whatever it was to prepare for the following week. I know on Fridays I was probably ready to pull my hair out the end of the day. So I hope that helps. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Turner.
And Dr. Goethe, before I go any further, I would like for the board members to know that in 1997, Saratoga went to a 4-day school week, and it was voted on unanimously by our board, by their board, which our board, we brought that up to the board, and for reasoning why. And I think things that were not resolved in 1997 could be resolved in 2017. And one thing that the superintendent at that time said that ADE had trouble tracking students' attendance and finances because the computer systems were not set up for extended days. So I'm thinking that's in 97. So in 2017, I pulled Mr. Diggs' entire article off. It was very interesting. But he also noted that staff attendance was down 50%, and student attendance was up 25%. And the only reason why they selected Monday instead of Friday was because of athletics. But as we all know at the department, that school merged with Mineral Springs, I think. I think they still have an elementary school, but maybe just one high school, if I'm speaking right. So we put in your, we put on the slide, but we didn't get a chance to put in the pamphlet, our October 1 numbers. So I asked Ms. Perry to pass those out to you. So if you look at October 1, where we submitted how many students that we have, I asked Ms. Taylor to explain to me. I said, now, those look like those students we're pulling from the districts, but that's their last school that they attended. So they could be 19 or whatever, but their last school that they attended, that's what goes on here, on their record. And now the enrollment that she pulled today on the bottom, that's today, that's the latest that you can get, still from Ben Bryant. Ms. Turner has enrolled about 4 students in the SciTech. And the first time I met her, we had a young man who's facing 10 years in prison. Mother would not come get him. He had to be at her office by 4:30 or be locked up in Benton. And so no one was left at school but the register and myself, and I just said, load up, let's go to Benton, you know. And I mean, I couldn't believe it, but you just won't believe how many parents will say they're grown, but they don't have the support. But I did not want that child to go to jail just because he didn't have adequate transportation. But, you know, we just try to meet the need.
Any further on your presentation? That was the last slide?
That was oh. Yeah, we have a student who would like to speak. She's
Sure.
extremely bashful.
Ms. Tatum, we have 2.5 minutes, so
2
that'd be
minutes?
great. No,
Yeah,
that,
2 minutes.
Hello, my name is Bianca Pippins. I am a SciTech student. I have a job and a 4-year-old son. I've been with SciTech. Did y'all hear what I said? Do I have to read?
try one more time, Ms. Pippin.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Sorry. My name is Bianca Pippins, and I am a SciTech student. I have a job and a 4-year-old son, and I've been with SciTech since August. I need 7.5 more credits left to graduate, and extended hours will help me more. That way I can get more work in and I can have help from my teachers. And Fridays will help me because I work a double shift so I can get more hours in, and that way I can support me and my son because I'm a single parent. Thank you. That was all.
How old are you, Bianca?
Thank you, Ms. Pippins. Thank you for your
I am
testimony.
22.
Oh, you just turned 20.
I just turned
You're
22.
not 20.
Yes.
But you're on one last credit?
Yes. Just a few more credits left, and I'll be graduating. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms.
That's
Pippins.
as loud as she gets.
That's,
I was shocked when I said, "You want to speak to the panel? Really? You don't speak to us?" No. But she's a sweetheart. So we're excited that she will be graduating here in the next couple of weeks.
that's amazing. Thank you. Since we have a little over a minute left, you're welcome. We can just cease that piece, and we'll see if there's any other testimony from your team.
I have one of my math teachers with me.
Okay.
She would love to speak. She's very quiet too, so.
Hi, I'm Lisa Romero. I'm a math teacher at SciTech. Mainly, I'm very excited about this for the students that we can help, but I know the main thing that came to my mind after we talked about it was, what about those students who already come on Fridays? And what's going to happen to them? And our curriculum is actually delivered through Schoology, which is accessible outside of the school environment. So they would still be allowed to work. Almost every class has something they can work on during that time. And we also have, through our organization, a program called Helpline that they can access away from campus that gives them access to teachers who are online. So they could even still get some assistance during the hours on during the school hours on Friday. And also, we can track who actually did log on, so we can check in with them on Monday when we return to school. So that's.
Thank you, Mr. Romero.
And in summary, I know you always say if they're that poor, they probably don't have internet at home. But our kids' phones are nicer than all of ours. So we have a Schoology app that they log into on their phone that they download and log into, and they're able to work. And like I said, we can track progress, anything. It's just like a no-brainer for us to try to implement this now. You may say, why now? Let's take a run and see, school's almost out. See if it's really gonna boost attendance, And that's.
Thank you, Ms. Tatum.
Yes, sir.
All right. Do we have anyone in opposition that would like to speak at this time? All right, Ms. Tatum, you have 5 additional minutes to close if you would like.
In closing, we've been before the charter panel and the state board so many times. I feel like I know you guys personally. But I love this job. It's probably the hardest job I've ever had my whole entire life, but the most rewarding. I've never worn this many hats, nor do I want to, because I'm getting too old to keep doing this. So hopefully one of these young ladies can take and take over. But I would like if Ms. Bryan needs to add anything, but we love our students. So.
Yeah, just to piggyback off what Ms. Tatum said, we do literally track our students. We love them. We want to help them. We are no strangers to knowing where we are. We're in the 72209 area code. We're over there for a reason. These students are the ones that we're trying to reach. And if you were to look at the statistics and the data, you would see that the crime in the area goes up around the spring. So if we give them an opportunity to be school a little bit more, give them an opportunity to be educated a little bit more, then maybe we can make them a graduate instead of a statistic. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you, ladies, and thank you for all of your team members that are willing to testify. All right. That concludes the presentation at this time. Panel, opportunity for questions from you. All right. Dr. Saunders will start us off.
I think first, if I could have legal come up, could you help me? I'm having some trouble trying to understand exactly what's being requested, any new waivers and rescinding any old waivers. Just if you could address that.
Right, and their application, when it first came in, I was a little confused as well. And you'll have to correct me if I'm wrong. But what they're requesting is to rescind the waiver of the rules governing 4-day weeks.
Okay.
because they currently have that. But because they're not operating on a 4-day week, they're requesting that you approve them to operate from a 5, go down to a 4-day week. So it's a rescission of one waiver and then just a change in their operation.
Is there still a request to rescind the 616-102?
No,
No.
that was in their original letter
Okay.
because they currently have that, and so that still deals with the 6-hour instructional day. So we think that they still need that one.
So the only adjustment to waivers is
The rescission.
rescission of that one set of rules?
That's
Or
correct.
any addition, there's no additions
Not
either,
at this
correct?
time, no.
Okay. That clarifies.
All right. Thank you. Ms. Haley?
I just had a question on what you all have done or plan to do to prepare the teachers for this change, because sometimes just moving to an extended day doesn't wind up being as effective as you might like if you haven't put the time in on the front end. So I'm just wondering what that looks like.
And you're so correct, and thank you for that question. Actually, the teachers brought the idea to me. So I said, look at this. We have this waiver. We've been looking at all these numbers with our school leadership team meetings. So I just provided them with a list of waivers. So we started pulling the numbers back in the fall with our students and where they are. And we've just been so down, with only 12 graduates. So they were looking forward to it. All of my teachers have small children. Ms. Bryan has a 10-year-old. Ms. Romero has a terrible 2. Ms. Taylor, everybody has small children. So if they're able to schedule appointments. Now, extended year people on 11 or 12-month contract, we would still work on Fridays. The school will still be open. Like she said, we could set up counseling appointments, whatever therapeutic services. But the teachers will be off after working Tuesday to 6, 6:30, and Thursday. So they're voted unanimously on it. So we've been tweaking this and trying to get it right to make sure that we want to try to test the water for about 3 months now.
In addition to that, Ms. Haley, our teachers have had spent time on Bloomberg ideas, and they've pulled all of this really good, useful information that can be used for our population, but we need the time. And so this gives them the time to collaborate together to see how they can use their time to differentiate that learning within that time period and be able to do any kind of activities, because our population, they do respond better to hands-on and a variety of styles. So this gives our teachers an opportunity to be able to do that within that classroom, within that time period.
So on those days that are longer, y'all are planning like what that's going to look like from 3:30 to whatever?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah,
yes,
okay.
ma'am. The teachers already have ideas that they want to use, and it's just about they're holding them and waiting for the green light. And then we're going to get together, have a meeting, and decide exactly what we're going to do within that time period and which ideas and learning that we're going to do within that time period.
Thank you.
One other thing, Ms. Henley, Ms. Bryan applied for and was awarded a fitness grant. So we have a SciTech Fit program there. Right now, the yoga instructors come and we pull students that are, well, you can tell.
It's with the Blue Cross Blue Shield Blue and You Foundation, and we were awarded that particular grant to implement some type of services for our students. So we focused on those students that were high anxiety, students that were very, that had a lot of barriers, or maybe very introverted, and we know they're dealing with a lot at home. And so we are having instructors come during the week to do yoga and meditation with them, which is new for 99% of them. It's new, but they're really taken to it, and one of the teachers have already reported a decline in behavior from the participants that have been within the program, and that'll give us an opportunity to do a little bit more physical activity with them on Fridays as well, for those that would be attending, and be able to plan that out a little better.
Thank you.
Dr. Pfeffer? Dr. Sanders?
Oh, did you have anything? Okay. So you all mentioned that one of the outcomes you expect from this is better attendance. And And I would agree. You also mentioned then with the better attendance, you would expect higher levels of achievement. Are there any other measurable outcomes that you all are going to be looking toward? Because I know you're going to want to look back, not just a few months from now, but within the next couple of years to really see how successful this has been. So are there some other measurable objectives that you all have set to look at the success?
At this point in time, we just want to get them there because we know if they're not at school, they're probably into something they shouldn't be. I'm gonna just be honest. So I'm sure attendance, students who fight at all these other schools, you know, we pride ourselves and kind of stick our chest out. We've had 3 fights since we've been open on campus, but you know, a lot of students say this is a second chance school, so don't mess it up. So you know, attendance, having graduates. But they see that we work with Goodwill and other entities who come in and prepare our kids for interviews. But they want to work. And students who are labeled at risk has an at-risk parent or adult who's failed them. Trust me, they don't want to act like that. So attendance right now, and we hope, you know, teacher morale I don't think is low because they come to work every single day. On the ADE teacher survey, we scored a 3.9 aggregate. Students had a 3.8. So, you know, we really stress, we just surveyed them so much. They just finished another survey. But my staff is pretty vocal, and they would just come to me and say, you know, that didn't work. Let's look at this as a group. But right now, we just want to get them to school.
Okay, and I would just encourage you, I know you've already got some good data on the percent of your students who do work, and but I think it would be very helpful for us in the future if you could, as many things as you could put into place and share that information on, you know, the success of this. That would be good for us as well.
Yes, ma'am.
So,
and even Ms. Romero said we should have put some production in there to show of our high anxiety students who've been in yoga. It's kind of funny to see the guys in there all, you know, because they're behind closed doors, so they don't even want me to see them. And I'm thinking I need to do it too. I'm high stress also. But they've already reported, like she said, a change in their personalities in the room and everything. So.
Panel members, any other questions? Motion at appropriate time. Oh, sorry, Miss Haley, sorry.
I just had one more question. So I noticed you have 3 students with IEPs. So have you planned to conference with them or their parents if they're not 18 yet about the change, because it would affect their services too?
Absolutely. For those students, they were kind of the first ones that were in my mind when we were doing this, because I'm like, yay, I can be with them longer. But we are going to have that conference. We are going to, one is under 18, the others are above. So we are going to have that conference. I did want to suggest, or not suggest, but just say that we have a very good RTI program that we implement from the moment they walk in through the door. And that is an area that we'll be able to increase or really look at, because I know that we do have low special education numbers. I think that's a great thing because we have a very impactful RTI program, and that's one of the reasons. And so we are going to have those meetings and follow all IDEA guidelines when it comes to making sure that all students are appropriately served, and then also look at any other kind of community-based or wraparound services we'll be able to provide on Friday as well.
I was going to ask you about your numbers, so thank you. A lot of kids would already be placed by the time they would reach high school, so I would just encourage you to make sure in all your advertisement that you talk about the services you provide for IEPs, because I think you'd be meeting the needs of some kids that may not know that that's available.
Yes, ma'am.
And Ms. Haley, to piggyback off of that, she talked about our RTI program, but all of our kids are on that program. Every kid, not just her special ed kids. She sent out a Google Docs with their names, each teacher submit, and so we can find out what the need is.
One question, Mr. Rogers.
Because now I'm just wondering. It's something that you said earlier that now made me have a question. You asked, you said earlier that when your kids aren't in school, they get in trouble. So what happens if we give them another day out of school?
We're going to try to make sure they're employed, willfully employed. And I mean, and they work, so I mean, they can go to work earlier instead of just sleeping in and goofing off and getting into mischief. They can go to work on Friday. They don't have any appointments or community service. Good question. I mean, we had a young lady who just had a baby. Well, the baby's about 6 months old. On Friday, she went to work at 10, got off at 10 at night. Yeah, 18 years old. So that's many of them would work 12 hours.
All right, panel, last call for questions. All right, panel, we have a decision to approve, disapprove, or take the matter under advisement until a future meeting. Ms. Davis, are there any other remaining issues regarding the requested waivers?
No, but I have yoga mats in my trunk, so
Okay.
whenever we're ready, I've got two.
Okay.
I'm ready.
All right, that's good to know. Make a note of that, Ms. Hill, in the transcript. All right, I'll accept a motion regarding the request at this time, panel.
I make a motion to accept the amendments as requested.
Motion by Ms. Smith.
Second.
Second, the tie goes to the Dr. Saunders. So second by Dr. Saunders. Because he was just because he's younger.
Oh, I don't know about that.
That did not come out just right. That didn't, yeah.
I'm glad our official chair is in the back of the room
We're
here.
good. I'm no longer chair, I just got fired. All right, second by Dr. Saunders. All right. All right, all in favor of the motion?
Aye.
And all opposed, same sign. All right, the motion passed. Congratulations, and each board member will complete the online form at this time.
Why could it have come out? I think he called me. Oh, I think so too.
Miss Pippins? Bianca Pippins? Come here, Bianca, come up here real quick before you get out that back door. I just want to say congratulations to you for your perseverance and continuing to go to school, because you staying in there will do more for your son than anything else. And I hope that when you get your graduation credits that you'll let us know, because I would love to come see you graduate.
Thank you.
Okay, so congratulations to you. In fact, I'm pretty sure we could probably get a van load of people from here to come watch you.
Thank you, Ms. Smith, and thank you, Ms. Pippins, for being with us today. All right, we've got All right, Ms. Haley.
I voted to approve the amendment. I think it will allow more flexibility for a unique group of students. I do encourage SciTech to monitor the attendance gains closely and other related outcomes and advertise your services.
Mr. Lester.
I voted for the amendment. I believe it was planned well, and it will address the variety of needs of many of the students.
And Dr. Pfeffer.
I voted for the amendment. I believe that there is a solid plan for the use of the time, and I would encourage the school to monitor the data.
Mr. Rogers.
Voted for. It allows the charter to continue working to meet the unique needs of their student population.
Dr. Saunders.
I had no concerns. I voted for it for the same reasons stated before.
And finally, Ms. Smith.
I voted for thoughtful explanation of the innovation using a 4-day week with extended day options to address the needs of specific students that you serve.
Thank you, Ms. Tatum. I just want to just give in closing, as I typically do, I look at the mission statement of the schools, and the piece that stood out to me that you guys are demonstrating is a relationship-focused campus. That's very evident. It's evident in Ms. Pippins being here and your wonderful team representing. So congratulations, thank you, and keep up the wonderful work for these kids. Have a great day. Thank you. Yes, ma'am. Panel, we'll take a 5-minute recess to allow the transition since I have been fired as chair. And we will move to bring Ms. Kaufman back up. So a 5-minute break, please.
Wow, because I couldn't see. You should have said.
Ms. Perry, you're recognized for action item 3.
Good afternoon. I'm Mary Perry, Coordinator with the Division of Learning Services. And here this afternoon, our third item deals with a hearing for Rockbridge Montessori School. On February 16th, Rockbridge was notified that the Charter Authorizing Panel wanted them to appear today so that the panel could conduct a full review of their charter, and the possible actions were outlined in the letter to them, including placing the school on probation, modifying the open enrollment charter, and or revoking the charter. And you can see the specific areas of concern that were addressed were special education, governance, and financial concerns. Before the group comes up this morning, and it'll be Sarah Gober with the charter that will be beginning the presentation, I will tell you that we are aware of some things that have occurred since the letter went to the charter. We have been informed, and you'll see that in the presentation today, the slides that were prepared for you by the charter. They will tell you they now have 7 members of their governing board, which was what was outlined in the charter application, outlined and approved. As far as the open enrollment charter public school grant, the federal grant, just yesterday, a payment was released from the department in the amount of $57,585.80. That number was referenced in their presentation as well, and that is definitely accurate, that money is going their way. They probably have not seen it yet. It was just completely released yesterday. With those things said, I will tell you that the level of concern remains high with the Arkansas Department of Education Charter Office. There's still concern over such things as open meetings and posting of meetings and notifying folks about meetings. There remains concern about data and finance. As early as this morning, I was copied on an email that went to the superintendent, where the finance unit's trying to get an accurate and complete December 1 special ed count. So there are some things that are still very concerning that we're aware of. And with that, I will turn it over to you, Madam Chair, so that you can swear those of us in who might be providing testimony.
Ms. Davis, if you'll give us the rundown of our expectations.
Right. The procedures that you're going to follow today are a little different than the 2 you just did. After being sworn in, and that does include department staff, anybody outside of attorneys that are providing testimony does need to be sworn in. The applicant will have 20 minutes to present its response to any proposed action that could be taken today. After the 20 minutes will then be any questions by you that you can have of the department, or then there's no opposition or rebuttal time. At that point, you can then make your decision, or you can refer it to another meeting.
And I have a list of names that have signed up for public comment.
At the end of the discussion, we generally can take public comment. That's at the end of your discussion as well. At the end of your discussion, its public comment would be 3 minutes per person.
Okay. Just to clarify, did you say that ADE staff had to swear in also?
Yes, if they were going to be providing any testimony.
Okay, so just based on the expectation of questions that I probably have for the charter unit, can we just make sure they all swear, the entire charter unit swears in?
I think that's what they were planning to do, just to be on the safe side.
Okay. And go over again what our options are.
Okay, your options are you can place them on probation, you can modify their charter, you can revoke their charter, or you can take no action. You can also choose to table the decision if you want until a further meeting, or make a decision at a future meeting.
Thank you, Ms. Davis.
Ms. Davis, could I ask the same for the special ed staff? There are several members here also, so if they could just be sworn in as...
Yeah. Like I said, I think pretty much everybody, with the exception of 1 or 2 of us, will all be standing up when you ask for everybody. So.
All right. If all representatives from the charter, from the ADE, and anyone speaking in opposition would please stand, raise your right hand to take the oath. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Ms. Gober? I'll ask that each person speaking be sure to speak clearly into the microphone because the session is being recorded and live streamed.
Yes, and I will apologize up front. I have a terrible head cold. Please forgive me, and I do apologize. My name is Sarah Gober. I am with Rockbridge Montessori. I'm a 26-year veteran of education in Arkansas. I want to thank the board for allowing us to come forward today and to talk to you about the concerns that you have. We have some of the same concerns. We are a strong educational endeavor as far as we love our children and we want the best for them educationally. We may not be strong in other places, and we want to make sure that we are have the right resources in line to get the help that we need to make this successful for our children. We have a small PowerPoint to begin. Basically, we're Rockbridge Montessori. We are a charter school that was given our charter in 2015. We are on the corner of Roosevelt Road and Main Street. Montessori education is over 100 years old. It is a research-based education that is a hands-on, material-based education. It is based on choice. That is not choice on whether I do it or not do it. It is based on education and choice on what would I like to work on today and how deep of learning would I like to do with that today. And that gives the child a chance to do what they would like to today and go as far as they would like to go with no limits of time or ability. We currently serve 151 students in K-6. We have 73% that are free and reduced lunch. We have 82% that are minority. We have had good gradual growth. We started with a number of 119 students when we began school last year. We finished the school year with 134, and we currently have the 151. We have 5 teachers and 5 assistants. 3 of our teachers are fully AMI certified, and 2 of those hold Arkansas teacher licensures. To be AMI certified, you must go through a 3-summer training or a full-year training on just Montessori material and pedagogy to be able to receive that AMI, which is Association Montessori International. 2 more of our teachers will become fully AMI certified over this summer when they go back and take their final orals and presentations. One of our assistants is an Arkansas licensure teacher with ELL and GT endorsements, and he will receive his AMI certification this summer and will begin our adolescents community for 7th graders in the fall. 2 other of our assistants have degrees in education, one in early education and one in elementary education. There is an example of Montessori education. Rather than me getting up in the front of the room and telling you what country this is and where it is in the world, you will have a prepared environment that will give you the country and the countries, continents, rivers, streams, whatever geography we're working on that day. And then you will identify it on the lower map and identify what it is and be able to identify it. So it's through that self-discovery, I have to find that, and that puts it into my long-term memory. This is a primary student, you would call kindergarten. She is pouring water from one flask to another. This teaches concentration. If she can do that well and take the time to do that well, she will take the time to read and not worry about the time that it takes to complete the task, and do a math problem and not worry about the time that it takes to complete the task and to do it well. We do have 3 sources of major concern, and we understand that. One of them is special education. We have held productive meetings with the members of the ADE educational unit over the finances and the services. There have been no interrupted provisions for those that we outsource. No PT, no OT was interrupted, no speech therapy, no psychological evaluations. I have applied for my ALP and I have been accepted, and since that time I've been working diligently with the parents and the ADE and the students to get those students on track and to make up for and to provide that compensatory education for the students that was lacking, as well as we've hired a special ed teacher. Says we are in the process of engaging. We have employed a special education teacher who will help us outline that compensatory learning as well as update our IEPs for us and help us move forward. We have completed almost all of our IEP conferences that were asked to be addressed by this time. The others that we have not, it's simply trying to get the parents on staff. We don't want to do this by telephone or any other way. We want to do it face-to-face with them so that they can understand that we haven't had a certified teacher there during this time and that we are going to do our very best to help our children, and it was not by our lack of knowledge or concern. And we are preparing a comprehensive plan to address those other issues that are given. We are revising our on-site coding system. That was the issue of some of our financial issues, and that has been taken care of also in working with a complete consultant, and that is being taken care of so the expenses can be paid. Our second issue was governance. Our charter calls for a governing board composed of 7 members, including parent representation. Our actual number of board members have been composed of fewer than 7, but we currently have 7. Our board consists of Casson Brock, a professor at Pulaski Technical College, Lee Allen, a professor at UAPB, Gene Williams, a professor at Pulaski Technical, Stephanie Newton, a liaison to Second Chance Ranch, Roy Albert, retired community member and member of the church who owns our building and rents to us. John Syak, he is currently with a nonprofit. He is a CPA to help us there. And Randy Sharp, he's a mortician. He brings humor to the room. Our administrative staff consists of Mr. Stephen Knuckles. He is currently doing superintendent and principalship, and Shannon Knuckles, curriculum director and teacher. As you will see, I am not currently listed there. I have stepped down to make sure that everything in special ed is taken care of to the utmost level because that's the most important part, is those students. As our governance review, we are drafting policies and protocols to ensure and ensure that the concerns of the state are taken care of for those meeting processes. The legal balance, as of 3/1/17, our legal balance was $239,200. The remaining startup federal grants available is $143,803. As she just said, we haven't received in hand, but we have been granted our first submission, and we have submitted a second submission for $51,625. We do have some leadership issues. We've hired a head of school who chose to do something else, and we brought Mrs. Knuckles on. When Mr. Stevens left, we hired someone to do our finance and in-house day-to-day bookkeeping, and this would allow Mrs. Knuckles to focus on other issues of the classroom. Since that time, Mr. Givens has resigned to go back to his previous job. In the meantime, Mrs. Knuckles, who was leading the school, we have approached AMI International to become a training site so that we can continue to have fully certified teachers, AMI certified teachers. In order to do that, she must fulfill 3 years of upper elementary. She's been in primary. She must include and teach at 3 years of upper L. So we tried to put her back in the classroom so that we could fulfill that obligation, so that we can move forward, so that we could provide teachers not only for us, but for other Montessori schools in this area. Currently, we go to Dallas, Atlanta, or California. I came to Rockbridge as a head of school, and Mr. Knuckles came as a teacher, but when our numbers did not materialize, Mr. Knuckles and Mr. Givens left. Mr. Knuckles took over that particular area because he had done reports, and he's in the military. He's a major in the military in the National Guard, and he did very well with that and had that experience. And I would try to run the day-to-day side of the education. Since that time, he has taken more of that to give me the time to focus on those issues that the State Department has brought up, mainly special ed. Cuts were made, different things happened. Our special ed teacher that we had, her assistant was had to be let go due to money, and then when she found that out, she chose to retire. It was her third retirement. And we have guidelines for all of that if you would like to. When we started our year, we only had 9 returning students that were Montessori. So the issue in front of us is students knowing the Montessori method and getting that in place. We feel like we have made great gains. We have a before school program for our students. We open our doors at 7 o'clock. We have an aftercare program that goes till 6 o'clock in the evening. We provide free breakfast and lunch for all of our students. We provide mental health for our students, those that need. In addition, we have gotten a bus so that we could do our going outs, which is what Dr. Marie Montessori called those. And it takes children to places and to experience things that they would not otherwise be able to experience. In addition to, we have a basketball team and we do dances, which adds to that idea of community for our school. We are not here to defend the fact that we have made mistakes. We are here to own those mistakes and to recognize that we have failed, but to offer to let you know that in that ownership, we want to be transparent, that we want to do what's best for the kids. And so we want the school to continue for the sake of the children, and we would love to continue and have monitoring to show that we want to do what's best for those children. We're going to call some of our, I have some people with me that would like to speak also. I'm going to start with Mr. Roy Albert. He is a retired person of the community. He is with St. John, which is the church who owns our building and rents to us. And he has also just recently accepted our request to be on our board.
Good evening. I recently became a member of the board, but I'm speaking more from the impact from the community. I'm a member and a deacon at St. John Baptist Church, which has been a solid member or part of the community for over 125 years. And Montessori method of teaching was one of the things that interested the church, because we are real advocates for education in the community. We have a program where we mentor students at Washington Elementary. And we were looking to help the community expand the access and possibility of additional education and different methods of learning, because students learn in different methods. And this Montessori method was a new one for the community, and we saw that this could be a major asset, and that's one reason why we wanted to partner with Rockbridge. And Rockbridge has been an integral part of the community since they have moved in. They have utilized the church, and we have partnered with them. They stated that she has a basketball team, and we make available to the school the facilities for utilization of their activities. We've also looked at how we can actually have a better voice in how the school is going to go, and that's why me, as a member of the church and a liaison, became a member of this board, looking for ways in which we might be able to impact the community more. So I'm just want to say it's been a rewarding experience to get to know the staff. I've been there with the school from its conception, when they roll in the first cabinets, and any problems they've had, we have worked together with them. And they have had a great impact upon the community, and I really would hope that you would consider the impact that they are having and what they bring to the South End community.
Thank you, Mr. Albert. Next, I would like to call Jack Syak, a parent of one of our students.
Good afternoon. I am Jack Syak. I'm a member of the board now, but I would like to speak to you today on the role that I cherish a little bit more, and that's as the father of an elementary student. And if you'll indulge me, I'd like to take you through a little bit of her history. We adopted Olga in 2010 from Guatemala. And when we came back to Little Rock, we placed her in, shall we say, a conventional public school, where we were told that she was a little bit behind, but give it 6 months and she'll be all caught up with the rest of her peers. 6 months turned to 12, 12 turned to 18. We finally got around to having her tested. We learned that she does have learning disabilities in math and in English, but we weren't able to learn what those disabilities were. So she entered the world of special ed and she struggled. Now I want to share with you, my wife and I are both products of public and private schools, and we never had to work at our education. I was able to maintain the honor roll and barely crack the book, and our 2 adult children somewhat followed suit. So when we were faced with the prospect of a first and second grader struggling, crying, fighting over the prospect of doing homework every night, I don't mind telling you, I didn't know how to handle that one. And Olga did struggle. We learned at the Montessori school over the summer and enrolled her in Rockbridge. And I can tell you, in 6 or 7 short months, I now have a daughter who loves to read. Her backpack is full of books, and she loves to just pull them out, and she's always asking me to buy things. She can now actually interpret signs on the road for me, which is nice. And not that I ever did this, but I don't have to read my texts while I'm driving because she can do that for me now. So it's a big help. And equally, we've seen the progress in her math as well. Now, I'm not an educator. I can't tell you why this system works, but I can tell you it definitely works for my daughter. I don't know what we would have done without this school. And I can also tell you that while I realize there are private options that teach the Montessori method, I'm not ashamed to tell you that I cannot afford them. And while even if my wife and I could make additional sacrifices to place her somewhere else, I know that there's a lot of students in this district that don't have that option. And I look at my daughter and I know she's dealing with reactive attachment disorder. I know she spent the first 2.5 years of her life in abject poverty in Guatemala. I'm sure I don't have to tell you all of the lasting effects that that will have on one's development. But I also know in this school district that she is not alone in that. And so I'm just here to affirm the fact that I do believe this school provides an incredibly necessary service to an incredibly important population of children. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Syak. Our next person will be Cecilia Santiago, also a parent.
Good afternoon. My name is Celia Santiago, and I, like him, do have a son. His name is Ty Garcia, and I like the education myself. I don't have one currently working, and I had a friend tell me to try to put Ty in the Montessori school system because he was having troubles in Benton, and at the beginning I would question my son, what did you learn today? And he would say, nothing, Mom. Then I would question him again, what did you learn today? He'll say, nothing. So I, in return, went to the school and questioned, what is my son learning? And I came to realize that he did not feel as if he was learning because to him it was more exploring. My son is in the 4th grade. He does 6th grade level math, 6th grade reading and writing. And I'm currently enrolled in college, and he's helping me learn pre-algebra. And I still don't get the method like the parent there himself. And I get emotional because we travel far. And I wake him up at 5 o'clock in the morning. But he wakes up singing. And he wants us to make sure that he's at school exactly at 7 because he wants to learn. So they are going through the hiccups, and I think that with any new school, anybody has to learn. But Rockbridge has not only changed my son's life, but it has given me the opportunity to realize that there is other things, that although I am part of that minority group, my son might have a chance to make a difference. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Santiago. Our last one is Christy Evans. She is a trained AMI Montessori teacher. She teaches our primary. I have told her extensively she only has 2 minutes, which is going to be very hard for her. So you might want to hold on. It's going to be a fast ride.
Good afternoon. Christy Evans. I am the primary teacher at Rockbridge. I did 3 summers of training in Dallas. The training there is, they say, as extensive as a master's level program. We started from conception and learned all the way through 6 years of age, and very extensive, a lot of material making of our own to learn the Montessori method and to learn the development of the child. Montessori method is an individual-based learning using materials, and so we follow the child. We find the passions of the child that will entice the child to learning at a deeper level. We use materials, so they are using more senses to truly learn instead of just a rote memorization. Many of the materials we have, such as we offer cursive writing for kindergarten for the primary. You see a 3-year-old that is learning to color, you'll see them coloring in circles. That will transition easier into a cursive writing, as well as it's a better culturally acceptable form of writing, but it helps them to learn beauty. We also we use sandpaper letters, so they're using 3 different senses just for the letters alone. So they are feeling it, they are seeing it, and they are hearing the sound. So they're using 3 different senses. Our Montessori method also allows them to move. We have tables and desks for them to use, but we also use rugs. They can get on the floor and move around. A 5-year-old, 3-year-old, 4-year-old, they can learn as they're moving. They can use both sides of their brain while they're learning. And so this helps them to find true concentration. With the 3-hour work cycle, they are free to continue that work instead of a bell ringing 40 minutes later and saying, you can't think about this math problem anymore, you have to move on to English. So that helps them to complete the work cycle. We offer as well grace and courtesy lessons, practical life exercises to help them fine-tune their motor coordination, their gross motor movements. That helps them in turn for writing, as well as we help them with quantities with their math. So they are actually holding it, they're manipulating the materials instead of just paper, so that helps them as well. All of our materials grow deeper as they get older. I have a son that also goes to the school. He's in 6th grade, and I have a material in my room that is used. My children see it as a puzzle. It's called binomial and a trinomial cube, and they can take these out and they have to put them back just so. They're using some of these same materials in 4th, 5th, and 6th grade, but they're actually breaking those down into the formulas for the binomial and the trinomial, and they're learning their pre-algebra and algebra functions and formulas. And with using them in kindergarten, when they get up into 6th grade and they're having to remember these formulas, they're remembering then, they're holding these, and they can put this puzzle together in their mind that they did so many times, and they won't have to just try to remember this formula or this function. So all of the materials have a precise need and a precise way to be used, and you can learn deeper parts and learn throughout your whole year 6. So I see so much the kids are learning. Most of my kids are reading already. Most of them are counting to 1,000. I have several even starting multiplication facts. So this method does work, and I'm so excited that we can share this with children that would not otherwise be able to afford this.
Thank you, Ms. Evans.
Yes.
All right, that concludes our 20-minute presentation. Ms. Davis, and now we'll move to questions from the board, from the panel. All right. Ms. Haley, you look like you're ready.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Gober. We appreciate everything that you've done to work to improve the situation in terms of special education, but we do have some questions. One of those, I saw on the PowerPoint, I think, that you mentioned Ms. Cochran, which was the special education teacher, and I don't remember, maybe she was on my copy, but I didn't see it. Anyway, what date did she leave?
She told her official date is the 19th of October. She told us 2 weeks previous to that she would not be staying without an assistant.
Okay.
She was ready to retire.
And so she had an assistant, and then the assistant had to be reassigned. Okay. And was that because she felt like she had too many kids, or did she discuss that with you?
She did not have. It was my understanding we didn't have too many children, but we needed that assistant placed somewhere else because of cutbacks.
Okay. And so from October 19th until now, you have several students with IEPs, and our understanding is they had not received special ed services from a licensed special ed teacher, and I know that you have an ALP that's been submitted. I don't know if you have started services with some of the kids, so I can ask that in a minute. But is that correct? Up until the time that you started, and when was that? When you started providing the services?
On March, I found out on the Friday, March 3rd, and so I started that weekend to prepare for the following Monday.
Okay. And so we sent you a letter, as you know, because I know our staff's been working with you, not you, but the school,
yes.
About providing compensatory education and schedules and your schedule and all that. And we're still a little confused about the numbers, and I have questions about that. I'll give other people a chance. But the major concerns that we had, that we stated at the last meeting, or that I stated, was the special education program and the lack of services to students from that point that had not been received since October 19th. And just concerns over the ability of Rockbridge to implement a special education program in terms of your capacity. Yes. At that time, you didn't even have an ALP, and not finding fault with anyone, but there wasn't a lot of knowledge in terms of special education in the school, so we've been working with you. So I'll stop and give other people a chance to ask some questions, and then I have some more.
Mr. Syak and Mr. Albert, could I speak to you guys for a second, please? So if I've heard correctly earlier, you both have just now joined the board.
Yes.
So have either one of you attended an actual board meeting at this point, or have you just been appointed?
One board meeting.
One board meeting?
One board meeting and one special meeting.
Okay. And can you kind of tell me, when asked to be a part of the board, can you explain to me what your understanding of your role as a board member would be?
I just most recently completed the, I guess it's the video training, and it outlined all of the, I guess, the expectations of how the school should be run, governance, the whole list. And after reading that, in fact, looking at some of the sightings here, I had a better understanding from that video training as to what was some of the issues that needed to be addressed here today. And in the meeting, we just generally went over things, but the video training that I just completed, that really gave me a lot of insight as to what the expectations are.
Okay.
I think my purpose being on the board was twofold. One, again, I have a daughter in the school, so I'm an interested parent, but also, as was stated, I am a non-practicing CPA. I work for a nonprofit. I have a lot of experience with boards and governance, and obviously the financial part of things is something I'm comfortable with, and really administration in general.
Okay, thank you both.
I would also just want to point out, he did mention administrative. Before I retired, I did have 33 years of work in providing services to people with disabilities. So I'm very, very familiar with the requirements and the needs of students, as well as about 17 years of administrative experience and handling budgets of $26 million. So I do have some knowledge of that.
Thank you. I appreciate you sharing that. So from the charter unit, I guess maybe Mr. Scott. Mr. Scott, I know that you've kind of taken the role of working with different boards. So can you kind of give me some just reflection on kind of where this board currently is, and do you feel like they are in place now to moving forward, or kind of just your thoughts on that, please, sir?
Certainly, I definitely appreciate the opportunity to do just that. It's early on in the process, and as just for the record, one of our interests is to have a level of understanding of the professional development needs of boards. At the end of the day, there's a direct correlation between board governance and performance with school performance. So at the end of the day, again, each one of the board members as a whole typically have to assess and hold the superintendent accountable in academics and finance and operations. It's early on in the process, and clearly one of the things that was identified as a true need was extensive professional development. I think that is key. Board composition, you take a look at talent around the board. Do you have someone in academics? They do. Do you have someone in finance? They do. Someone in operations? Absolutely. But at the end of the day, it looks like there's an effort to proceed with professional development with video, and that's fine. But it's a relatively immature board per se. There's some evidence that point to that relative to an understanding of Open Meetings Act and how to proceed in that manner. There's also evidence relative to the length of the board meetings to assess in each of those areas, to have some comfort level for each of the board members to even make a vote. It means that they have had some extensive time covering that. I believe that will be handled over the course of time with extensive professional development. The areas, they also have access to APS-RC. Our unit obviously is providing that as well. We're interested in assisting in that manner.
So within the notes that we were provided, I noticed that you guys had tried to attend a meeting that did not take place, but then you also requested minutes or notes or who attended the meeting. Did you ever receive those?
To answer your question, we did receive it, and the point that you're referencing is at the February 28th this year board meeting, the decision was made to have the next board meeting on March 6th. I attended the meeting on March 6th. Well, I went to the location on March 6th only to find out that there was no meeting, that there was a meeting prior to that, actually on March 3rd, which was a Friday. So there was no public record that I was aware of that there was a change to that March 3rd meeting. And so again, understanding of Open Meetings Acts and some state guidelines, state laws, regulations, kind of sort of point to that.
Okay, thank you, sir. Who is the current president of the board?
Ms. Brock.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Dr. Pepper?
Ms. Gober, I think my questions will start. And I was going through the presentation, and I'm not sure. No, okay. The other factors that you referenced where you had different people have been doing different things. So Mr. Knuckles was moved from a classroom to working with e-school cycle reports, financial issues. You, from what I understand, basically were serving as the principal of the school, and then now you're serving full-time as the special education teacher, taking care of all the paperwork. And so that shift has been made. Someone who was over the finance is no longer doing that. And so I'm concerned about the shuffling that, and you acknowledge that, and I do appreciate you doing that. And so kind of to go with what Ms. Smith was talking about with board members, and how are these decisions being made in terms of who is in what position, and when issues arise and you've got this shuffling going on, and how are those decisions being made, and what kind of involvement is going between people running the school and then the board that should be overseeing the operations?
Absolutely. Well, it always starts in a conversation in the office going, what are we going to do and how are we going to best cover this? But then we bring it to our board and ask them, how do they think it would be best qualified? And we give, some of them have educational background, some do not. And then we ask them what they think is the best, and if they ask our opinion, we tell them what we think is best, and then they so move.
Okay, so at the time when you went for a few months without having a licensed special education teacher, it was from, I believe, October until March, and even when the ALP was filed, there was still some missing paperwork that had to be followed up on, and you even mentioned, we have some of the same concerns. So when did you reach out to your board? Did you reach out to the department? Did we reach out to you? How was all of that done? Because I think that between the governance issue and the leadership and who's making sure that these things are taken care of, that's a concern.
We had a monitoring occurring about the same time that Mrs. Cochran was leaving.
Okay.
And so with that came these issues. And as we were trying to find a special ed teacher, because Ms. Cochran had gone, we had to move forward with the findings that were made in the monitoring and work on those. And so we would let the board know, and during that time, we were pursuing special ed teachers, probably looking back, obviously. I'll take the blame, not as passionately as we should have, but again, trying to do what was best for the students and move forward. And the board was aware and had given us an indication that when we found one, that they would support us for hire.
And so you have stated that you have hired a special education teacher now?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that person fully licensed?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. When will that person be starting?
They've already started for us part-time. She's also employed full-time with another district, and she is helping me with writing the IEPs in the evening. Well, not writing the IEPs, helping me to be prepared to do the next IEP as we do, and helping me as my mentor, and helping me with that part that I don't know about the special ed.
So going forward, what will the leadership structure look like in the school? As long as this person does, as long as things stay the same and you have a fully licensed special ed teacher?
She has indicated to us that she would like to stay with us at the end of the year, and we would like nothing better than for her to come to work with us full time. We foresee that we are special ed students are drawn to us because of the movement and choice, and so we foresee that will continue to grow, and I would like to continue to be an integral part of that to make sure those students don't continue. From the time they walk in the door, we want to encompass them and make sure they move forward.
Okay. So, but will you then reassume duties as the school principal director, or is that going to be shuffled around again? And
only if we find someone that's better qualified, absolutely. I will go of those two hats, yes, wherever it's best qualified for me. Not me, for the students, but
Okay, so who ultimately will kind of make the decision, I guess, and look at the leadership, and how is that structured?
The board will have to make that final decision based on the resumes and the people that are.
And you do now have your full 7-member board firmly in place?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, that's all I have for right now.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a question that came up, and I'm, two questions. Does Montessori, is there a set of standards that Montessori
Yes, sir.
requires of you?
Yes, sir.
And tell us about that process. I was trying to find it in the notes, and I did not, so.
I'd like to pass that question to
Sure.
Shannon Knuckles, our curriculum director. She breathes, eats, and lives Montessori and is almost Miss Montessori herself. So let me get her.
Hello, my name is Shannon Knuckles.
Thank you, Ms. Knuckles.
Yes. So the Montessori curriculum is a 100-year research-based method by Dr. Marie Montessori. And our teachers are being trained, and most have gone through the training with Association Montessori International, which is the highest level of Montessori training available. It's called the golden apple of all trainings. It needs to be noted, too, that there is no... anyone can call themselves a Montessori school, so you have to look at the training. So our teachers are doing the most authentic training. Association Montessori International did align the curriculum with Common Core standards. So our teachers are able to look at the Common Core standards in their Montessori albums, which they have designed themselves, and make those alignments. Also, we use Compass Learning, which is individualized computer program, which also shows us where our students' strengths and weaknesses are, and we can take those and also align it to our Montessori curriculum. We also do progress monitoring with NWA.
Good. I think if I heard you correctly, Montessori is not a copywritten name. In other words, any school can call themselves
Yes.
that, but in order to rise to the level of that quality,
Yes.
that
And-
Apple level that you said,
Yes.
that's a local decision, and is there a rating? Is there a process of evaluating that? Maybe you could expand upon that.
Yes, sir. So next year, there is a step to becoming a Montessori accredited school. And next year, we are wanting to go through the process of becoming fully accredited. And to be Montessori accredited, all the teachers have to be fully Montessori trained. And you have to have a full complement of AMI Montessori materials, which our school has. A consultant from Association Montessori International comes to your school and does evaluations of all the classrooms and the teachers, and also talks to administrative staff, and also does parent nights too with our staff. Then you will have an accreditation team come from Association Montessori International to your school site and do a full review.
So your goal is 100% of the teachers to be trained in the, what you call it, the golden apple?
Yes,
Okay.
and that will occur, this summer is our last summer of training.
Okay. All right, thank you. I believe that's it for now. And I may I have a follow-up? Ms. Gober? And Stephen and Shannon Knuckles, their relationship?
Husband and wife.
Husband and wife. And just as a former superintendent and principal, I'm just curious, is there any issue in your policies or with the board of having a supervisory relationship with Ms. Knuckles?
Not in our policies, but we have turned in the recommended paperwork for that to occur at the state, yes.
Okay, so is that a permanent relationship? Or I think Dr. Pfeffer was asking some questions on that as well, but not specific to that.
Right.
So that particular relationship could exist
Yes.
in the future?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And the board's fully aware?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem.
Who said paperwork?
Ms. Gober, come back
Yeah.
and clarify on the paperwork that's been turned in.
Because the husband and wife in our charter, we've turned in that they were husband and wife, so that there would be
Full disclosure.
Full disclosure. Okay, I'm
That makes
sorry.
sense.
I didn't
Yeah.
word that correctly. I apologize.
Ms. Davis?
I am looking, and it's not that there's not one necessarily, but I don't remember as of recently there being a $15.99 or $13.81 request for that. So they would still need to complete one of those.
I have a question, and it just based off something you said earlier, and
Yes, sir.
because I don't know, so I have to ask. How does a full-time special ed teacher at another district work part-time at your school?
Okay. She works during the day there. She comes to ours in the afternoon after her school is over and helps and mentors me on helping, just like the compensatory education that we need to take care of between October and now. She shows me how to do that and how to go about that so that I can do and fulfill that.
So she's not really being a special ed teacher at your school
No,
right
she's
now
being a
either,
mentor.
right?
Right.
Because she's just showing up in the evenings, helping you with paperwork and showing you how to.
Mentorship, yes.
Okay.
She's not conducting lessons, correct?
And is she being paid as a
Consultant,
consultant?
I believe. How is she being paid? How is she being paid as a consultant? Yes.
Ms. Haley?
A couple of questions about that. So that individual was, I think, the one who was arranging conferences with parents to let them know that services hadn't been provided. And do you know offhand how many conferences were held, or the majority, or not too many, or?
It's my understanding we have all but 4.
Okay, okay. And can you just explain maybe how the parents were invited to those conferences?
We sent out a letter inviting them to come and let them know that she was be the one that would be conducting the conference, and that I would be there and that I would be over the educational aspect after that time.
Okay, so the letter that we have that we were provided saying
I think
that.
we've tweaked it, but yes.
Okay. And there is a letter that's required, a notice of conference, and we know you're new to special ed and we're working with you and all that, but you have to list who the required participants are. Right. Do you know if that was provided in the intent of the conference and all of that?
I know the letter was provided. I'm not sure that I put all the people that need to be there. Yes,
okay.
Ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
In terms of, you've been providing services for a while now.
Yes, ma'am.
And we've reviewed those plans. Some of them are out of date. We're
Yes, ma'am.
working on that.
Yes, ma'am.
But in terms of your day and what those services look like, it was, I mean, some of it said direct, some of it might have just said reading, or so. Can you just kind of give us your full-time, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And I didn't see you had a prep period either, so I was concerned about that.
We have a waiver for our preps.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So anyway, for your day, just offhand, you have some pull-out services, because many of those kids have pull-out
Yes.
resource
Yes, ma'am.
classes.
Yes, ma'am.
So if you can just kind
Go
of
through
walk
my day?
us through it.
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am. Luckily for me, I get to start at 7:30. I have a couple of students who, because of the situation that we are willing to come at 7:30, and I do. There's 3 supposed to be. 2 usually show up, and we do our reading, our one-on-one 3-to-1 reading during that time. Then I bring in another student at 8 o'clock, and we do that. That separates, and we are working on the times, obviously. This is we're on a journey. Then I get to start with another group. We do that from 8 to 8:30. By that time, in the Montessori classes, they have finished their morning rug time. They know their plan of action for the day. They know what lessons that they need to be working in their journals for the week and what that needs to be done today. And at that time, I go into the 4th, 5th, and 6th grade upper L class, because we are multi-grade, and I help them when they're doing their lesson or whatever, like a co-teaching.
Providing support.
Yes,
Okay.
right.
Mm-hmm.
And when that is over, it's a 45-minute block, then I go to the other 4th upper L class and do the same. And then, I forget my day, I'm sorry. Then I go back and do a block of reading with other students. Then that's when I start my we traditionally call the pull-out time to see each of the children. And I have math students and all the things that you want. And it goes through to on Mondays, because we are now tutoring for we go till 4:30. I have students till 4:30. And then I work with them up till 3:15 because my parents are very willing to let me stay and work with them.
And so I know you know that IEPs currently don't necessarily reflect
Right,
what you're
that we're doing,
describing.
right.
So you're meeting with parents and discussing
right.
revisions
Right.
if appropriate.
If appropriate, yes, to make sure those objectives are being reached, or if they've been reached, or do we have objectives we need to work on? Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
On individuals.
So are there 10 students or are there 21 students with IEPs? Because I've got both numbers on this data sheet.
Right. There's 21 current. There were 10 as of whatever the December 1st report.
So you have 21 students with IEPs that you're currently serving?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. And Greg, this may kind of hit your area. So are there financial concerns right now? There are finance concerns? I need more explanation of the finance concerns. Is it with special ed or?
I'm not going to say it's a financial concern. It's a reporting concern that I wanted to ask about.
Okay, I need more information about that because when I'm reading the information on here, I just have a piece of it and I don't have an understanding. So I need someone to fill me in on that.
Okay, and I don't know, Ms. Gober or Mr. Knuckle, who's the appropriate person to ask these questions or just pose this, but we have some different numbers. So we have one set of students that we were provided in February, and they're, I don't know, 24 or something. Some of those are listed twice because they get related services and special ed services. So we're not exactly sure what the total number is right now. We have another set that you provided, I think, to one of our program advisors about your schedule that we had requested. And then we have the December 1 child count, which was submitted in cycle 4, and then you had the opportunity to review and make corrections in January. And then we have some information submitted to our finance office, which was the same children, but I think there were questions about their home residence because that's an issue with charter schools and funding. And so I have this spreadsheet that I worked on, and one of them I call Ms. Knuckles' list, one of them I call the December 1 child count, one of them I call Ms. Gober's schedule, and the other one I call the finance list provided in March, and I don't have X's across the board in very many of those. So some of the kids that were listed on the December 1 child count are not on your schedule. A lot of the kids who are on both of the lists that you provided and the list that we got in February are are not on the December 1 child count. And so we did a little bit of checking, and I think what we found is that they have not been activated. And so the data is definitely wrong, and we need to get that corrected. But first of all, we need to make sure that we know exactly who those kids were that were receiving services on December 1. The other issue that we have in terms of reporting is there are no special education course codes that we could find. And so they're all reported as general education courses. So that's another issue because when that information goes through standards, they don't know that there's a 1 to 8 limit without a paraprofessional if it's coded as a general education class. So there are several concerns around reporting and data.
Dr. Pepper.
So, and this may be a question for Ms. Haley. So, and I'm with all of these issues with special education that we've described, are these, does this fall under special education in the standards for accreditation? You know, are there issues there? Is this like the lack of services that were, the time period where there was a lack of services and, you know, all of these different things. I'm trying to figure out, is that a standards of accreditation violation? Because I know even though they do have a waiver from part of the standards, that is not something that could be waived. Is it more of the special education at the federal side? What are we looking at here?
I don't know if it's a standards violation or not, but we have made standards aware of that they didn't have a special education teacher for several months. And in terms of, we have no idea in terms of the class limit, because they haven't been receiving services for one thing, and for another thing, they haven't been recorded. So we don't have a good idea right now of actually what's going on in terms of numbers. I can't tell from all this, and so we have some work to do with you all. Yeah.
And I guess my question was there because if it is a violation related to the standards of accreditation, I'm not sure if that would be probationary status. I'm not sure if it'd be a citation. I'm not sure what that would be, and if maybe someone from standards could even kind of walk us through what that might look like. Yeah.
I see our team in the back. Mr. Harvey, I'll need your entire team to raise their right hand and let me swear you in. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Mr. Morris, you're recognized.
Willie Morris, Director of Standards. We had a OSR visit at Montessori School, and they did have a few issues, but as relates to Ms. Haley's question, it could be a probationary issue if they did not hire someone. They will have a period of time to get it corrected, but if they don't, it could turn into a probationary issue. But that will be determined by the evidence that's presented, and the state boards vote on whether they would approve the probation and or if they submit enough evidence to warrant changing it.
What was the date of the OSR visit, and what's the timeline for the corrections?
Well, the visit was on the 17th of January, and the 60-day period for them to correct things is Friday, actually.
I'm sorry. So in terms of, though, with standards, is there only an issue if there wasn't a teacher, or is it also an issue if it was more of the programmatic things where services weren't provided, IEPs were not followed? Does it even go beyond just whether or not a teacher was there with an ALP?
Well,
could there be multiple?
That will depend on the conversation we would have with the special ed department, Ms. Haley. If she think that there's going to be a probationary issue, she would talk to the standards unit, and then we would review it and then make a determination as to whether we submit that to the board.
Okay, on the timeline I'm looking at here shows that there was a SPED on-site monitoring in November 17th. And so you're saying that in January there was another site visit?
That was a standards OSR visit.
OSR visit in January, but the SPED site happened actually in November. Okay, and was just resolved with the ALP recently. That's been approved.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, special ed does their own monitoring, and then we do standards monitoring. And if she warrant that it needs to be something that reviewed by us, then she will talk to us about it.
Okay, so for the special ed people, and I don't know if that's somebody at least needs to answer if you've got people in the audience, was the correction done within the time, manner set, or is that part of the problem? Is that why we're here today, is because they did not respond in the appropriate time? Okay.
I don't think the record can hear a head shake.
Some of the items that were requested have not been received, and they are responding now, I believe trying to respond, but we did not get a lot of communication for a while after the first letter was sent, and there seemed to just be some confusion. There was no one to provide special education or be that point person up until very recently when Ms. Gober has taken the position as a special education teacher and is no longer the principal. I mean, there are several kids here where this is a full-time job. And so I believe that's why we didn't receive responses. I can only guess that we did talk with Mr. Knuckles on site. We told him we had called and sent letters, and there might have even been some confusion on where the emails were going, whether they were going to Miss Knuckles instead of Mr. Knuckles, and those sorts of things, because the superintendent position had changed as well, and we didn't know that.
Mr. Morris, do you have any other issues that were uncovered during your OSR visit?
There were a couple of issues that they have waivers for most of the things that we check. However, there were a few things that Mr. Tomlinson and Mr. Cosby talked to him about when on the visit. One of them being that they didn't have a task force on closing the achievement gap, and they had some AIP issues in their policy handbook, and they were not maintaining AIPs, and the teachers were not maintaining the AIPs at that time because they did not have one.
They didn't have.
They did not have an AIP plan in place.
Anything else?
Those were the only issues that was reported to me.
Thank you, Mr. Morris.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Harvey, is there any additional information from Public School Accountability that this panel needs to hear?
Not that I'm aware of at this time.
Ms. Haley?
Ms. Gober, I have a question. I won't say one more question. We'll see. But the individual that y'all have hired that has been consulting, it was our understanding not too long ago that that person maybe would not continue, and maybe there'd been some concern about her attending conferences and that sort of thing. But now that person you're thinking is going to be employed and stay. And then I had a follow-up question on something Ms. Pfeffer or Dr. Pfeffer had asked about, what your intent is in terms of fulfilling your ALP.
The first, I by no means know every conversation that occurred, but my understanding that she had some concerns due to a family member, and since that time that family member has passed, and so that has freed her up to go to work with us full time, as sad as it is to say. And I will do what's best for the children. I will truly I will fulfill my ALP to help those children if given that chance, yes.
But right now, you are full-time special
Full-time.
education teacher?
Nothing.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Dr. Pfeffer?
Ms. Gober, I'm sorry, I'm trying to catch you here. Can you describe what your plan of study will entail, how many hours you'll have to take?
I will have 5 classes. I'm currently working with ASU because they have those 5 classes very available online that I can do at night while I'm still working at school during the day.
Okay, and it'll also require an assessment?
Yes.
And,
Yes.
and based on a new law, a K-12 reading assessment?
Yes.
So, and I say all that for your board to hear.
Right.
Because they need to understand.
It's not a given, right?
Well, and they need to understand when you're adding an additional area of licensure, it's a lot of work on top of your regular day job, and there's a lot of responsibility there, and 5 classes, and being able to take those in the time needed. I just wanted to be sure they were hearing that information, because I don't know that people always understand that.
Thank you.
Mr. Lester?
Yes, taking a look at your Title I status, at this point y'all are target assisted, and I was just looking at what y'all used that target assisted money for was a Title I paraprofessional. In target assisted, that position is limited to those targeted kids. Your percentage of over 70% would allow you to apply for school-wide. So I would encourage you to be able to have more flexibility with that parapro that you're using in your building, to call our Federal Programs Office, the Title I office, and get that paperwork started, because I think it'll be a big help in utilizing your staff better.
Thank you.
Ms. Rogers?
Who does the finances for the school right now?
Complete consultant works with us, Mr. Knuckles.
Excuse, what was that last name again?
Mr. Knuckles,
Who is also
superintendent.
superintendent, married to the president. I mean, that's kind of where I'm,
He wears
kind of
many
where I
hats. We
was
all do
wondering
it.
what, trying to
Right.
figure out, because
Right.
earlier when Ivy asked you what the organization was, now you're stepping outside by having a consultant who's actually part of it because he's married to the superintendent. When's the last time y'all had an audit?
To the curriculum.
To curriculum director, or whatever she is this week. When's the last time you had an audit?
Sir, we're Stephen Knuckles, Superintendent with Rob Bridge. Sir, we're currently and we're currently working with the legislative audit, and still in progress. In fact, making compliance with their request for documentation concerning financial status with Rob Bridge, and working closely with two members of the audit team, and continuing until those questions have been satisfied.
Can I keep going? So this will be the first audit y'all have had,
Correct. Yes, sir.
and they're there right now working, looking for information.
Correct. Yes, sir.
What are your bid procedures?
Pardon me, sir?
Your bid procedures for contracts?
Yes, we do have contracts with various vendors. I do realize that early on with the initial construction projects at Rock Bridge, there may have been some issues that have come up in regards to bidding on the construction projects. We're still trying to submit that documentation that's required by a legislative audit to state whether or not we went through the bidding process appropriately.
So you're still trying to determine on contracts you already have out if you went through the bid process correctly?
That's correct, yes, sir.
Are you, but what are your bid procedures? Are you going through bids now?
No, sir, nothing currently.
So I think you have a cleaning service contract also for
That's
around
correct.
$6,000 per month.
That's correct, yes, sir.
Was that bid out?
With Razor Clean.
So it was bid out originally. And that won't be reflected in the audit that you didn't bid it out originally.
I've not had any questions in regard to the Razorback Clean contract. That has not come to the surface. No, sir.
So also in the Razorback, which is about $6,000 a month, you're still paying for cleaning supplies and other stuff for.
Yes, sir. In
So-
addition, yes, sir. I'm sorry.
No, that's all. That's what I'm trying to figure out is why are you paying
Yes, sir.
for cleaning supplies if you're paying $6,000 a month?
In addition to major repairs, such as our air conditioning unit and heating unit that's gone out, they make on-site corrections as part of that contract.
The cleaning service does?
That's correct. Yes,
Wow,
sir.
that's a good cleaning service.
Yes, sir.
I guess over $6,000 a month, though. What are the facilities money that you got for facilities funding building, the $38,000? What'd you use that for?
Specifically, I may have to defer that question to our accountants that we work closely with.
Who's your accountants?
That would be our accountants, Mr. Denman from Complete Consulting, may have a detailed answer that they would better address the question.
You'll need to state your name and title, and were you sworn in?
I was.
Okay, thank you.
Darren Hamilton, Complete Consulting. Generally, most of that's going toward rent, just general occupancy expenses.
All $38,000 just being used for rent.
Well, rent, occupancy expenses, repairs, general maintenance.
Okay. Well, I mean, when you say that, but I'm looking at the general ledger expenditures, and I'm seeing, water, disposal, custodial, just all sorts of normal through their main regular operating, but then you're telling me that you're also using facilities money for it too. So honestly, when I was looking through this, it was a crazy budget, and it doesn't look like it's making any sense. And if you weren't getting the $55,000 that was released recently, I don't see how you'd make it through the end of the year. And that is my concerns. And I can't, and when I was looking at this, based off what I had, it looks like right now you'd probably end around $40,000, but I understand you just got 50, so I'd have to go back and look at it. But
Yes, we're projected to end at about 92.
you're going to project right now to end at $92,000 then this
Yes,
year.
sir.
Okay.
And we have a schedule, and we actually worked with APSRC. So we feel comfortable with that number. If you'd like to see it, like for me to share that with you, I definitely can.
Yes, I would.
Okay.
Follow-up to, how long have you been members of APSRC?
I am not a member of APSRC. I'm a member of Complete Consulting. And I've been with Complete Consulting right at about a month. However, let me say this. I am not new to public finance. I am not new to accounting. I'm a CPA. I've been a CPA since 2003. I have extensive audit background, and so it's not that I've been with Complete Consulting for 1 month, but we've been in the business for a while.
And they have a contract with you for?
Correct.
And how long has that contract been in place?
Since the charter started.
And Mr. Knuckles,
Yes, ma'am.
how long has the school district been a member of APSRC?
Since its conception, yes, ma'am.
Mr. Knuckles, have you gone through Tier 1 training?
No, sir, I have not.
That's kind of a big deal. It's pretty serious for having a finance person who hasn't had Tier 1 training. That's physical distress right there, and we've never put anybody on physical distress in a charter school before.
If I may clarify, as a member of the U.S. Army Reserve, I have been deployed 2015-2016 school year, and having returned from deployment, I came on staff with Rockbridge in order to be a part of what we're doing, something unique, something that's special in my heart to do. As an educator of almost 20 years, I know that it's something unique that we do not have, that other children don't have access to. And so I feel special in that regard to be able to contribute. Now, granted, I have much to learn in the process, and there's still much training that I can certainly benefit from. I'm willing to pursue any of that that's necessary in order to meet the requirements.
And when you were deployed, were you a staff member at that time? Were
No,
you
sir.
the finance person when you were?
No, sir. Again, I came on board Rockbridge in June of 2016 after the deployment. Yes, sir.
So was the previous finance person before you?
Yes, sir. He was, yes, sir, that's correct. Mr. Chris Gibbons was part of the Rockbridge staff who managed the day-to-day finance billing, in addition to e-school, data input, and child nutrition.
Was the previous superintendent trained in Tier 1?
That would be Mrs. Gober, and I do not recall if she's had that training.
Mrs. Gober?
Yes, ma'am.
I have not. I think you're referring to the first year superintendent, Mr.
Yes.
Stevens, and he had been Tier 1 training.
So during what timeline was Mrs. Knuckles the superintendent?
When Mr. Stevens left in October of 2015.
And Mrs. Knuckles? You come to the microphone. Did you receive Tier 1 training?
I I began the beginning administrators training with the Department of Education.
You completed that program?
I did the first year.
And Mr. Knuckles, have you participated in new administrators training?
No, ma'am, I have not.
Madam Chair, I know for beginning superintendent training and beginning administrator, it's possible that it could have been Tier 1 training, but those records are with AAEA or with us. I'm not sure, Greg. Maybe you can articulate that. Okay.
If it helps the members of the panel at all, I do have a timeline for your review regarding the leadership, if that's something that you would like to view.
Ms. Gober, I have a follow-up question regarding the special ed teacher that is assisting you at night.
Yes, ma'am.
How many years of license does she have in the state of Arkansas?
I believe 26 years. Yes,
There is one correction I'd like to point out. You've probably already seen it. The first two dates, an oversight on my part, should have been 2015, October 2015. And the rest are correct.
So both October 2015?
Yes, ma'am, that's correct. That's an oversight on my part.
Ms. Kaufman, can I ask Mr. Knuckles a question?
Absolutely.
Mr. Knuckles,
Yes,
either you or Ms. Gober, are you aware of any parents that had concerns when you alerted them that their students had not received special education services?
Yes, ma'am. In fact, we did have a call from your department indicating that there was a parent concern. Mrs. Hughes informed me about the parent, and I immediately gave her a phone call to address the concerns. Her child was in speech.
Mm-hmm.
He was not eligible for reading or math in those academic areas of concern. However, she did have questions about that, and welcomed her to come in and chat with us to see what we could do about addressing it. And if she had additional concerns, we would look at testing. Yes, ma'am.
And just the conferences that were held with the consultant that you have hired, we did have concerns about the memo that was put out that the conference would be 20 minutes and back-to-back and that kind of thing, because this is a really big deal to talk to parents about. Not only that, about compensatory education that their children might now be eligible for and what services are going to look like moving forward. Can you talk about that at all? How did that actually run that weekend or those evenings?
I too was concerned, and when I let her know that, I'm not sure she understood the full grasp of the lack of services between October and whatever, and I don't think she fully grasped that our parents, the concern that they might have, and so I asked her to not schedule them in that manner and to allow us to have 40 minutes, and even then, the parents that were later in the day, we told them that was a targeted time, but could we call them if the conference in front of them was running long? Would they please allow us to call them and let them know that, because we understand that parents could have concern that their child had not been serviced.
Right. Did you have general ed teachers present at those conferences?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
You betcha.
Mr. Knuckles, did you receive training for e-finance?
Yes, ma'am. Pardon me, correction. Not for e-finance. Most of the training I have had has been on the student data entry side, working with AppScan in order to ensure that the data is done correctly. However, I do know, according to Mrs. Haley and her concerns with special ed, there are still some corrections that need to be made concerning our special ed children and getting that data corrected so that the primary example would be the 1 December special ed count, which is still not correct. And so I'm working with AppScan to make those corrections. Yes, ma'am.
So as superintendent, well, the timeline is very helpful. Very helpful. So this question is kind of a joint question for you and Mrs. Gober. At the point you realized you've got issues, when was that, and then what were your next immediate steps?
Early on, quite frankly, the first day of school when we didn't have students show up. I mean, that puts you had in the back of your mind at all times. That, of course, started the ball rolling in what can be done. And with Mr. Givens leaving and Mr. Knuckles taking care of some of those issues with e-school and all, that's when we decided and talked to the board about him being placed in that particular role. Since the students had not shown up, he was a teacher that we could take out of the classroom with the least amount of problem for the students. And then when Ms. Cochran resigned, that became another issue, the special ed teacher. And as we began looking for that, we were in the middle. That was when the special ed came for our to look at things and monitor us, and that opened that door. And as we began to work with that, and then other things, that's when it proceeded. Yes, ma'am.
So what were your first, so you talked about what you did, you talked to your board, then who did you reach out to? Did you reach out to ADE? Did you reach out to APSRC? What was the timeline of that conversation?
During the monitoring system, and shortly thereafter, we reached out to ADE with special ed, and did not. I mean, I'll take full responsibility. We did not follow up as well as we could. Again, one of those. I'll take full blame. You keep thinking, well, you interview someone thinking that's going to be the person that we're going to do and we can move on, and it doesn't, and then you're 3 or 4 days into it, and it just keeps mounting on you, as well as the other issues. We reached out to APSRC for help, and they've been very beneficial to help us try to get back on track, and like I said at the very beginning, we realize that these are some major issues. We are much stronger on the educational side than we are the finance and the e-school and reporting side. But for children's sake, I would hope that would be the side that we would be heavy on and get the help that we need to get the others in line. And whether that be with further monitoring with APSRC and the State Board and the Department of Ed, and then get the right people. If we don't have the right people on the bus, get them on the bus and get them in the right seat, and let's move forward for children. Yes, ma'am.
Dr. Pfeffer?
Yes, I think this question would be for one or both board members. And I'm sorry I didn't write down names.
Ms. Gober, were there any other board members here?
No, ma'am. I'm so sorry. Mr. Syak and Mr. Albert.
Okay, Mr. Syke and Mr. Albert. And I realize you all are new to this, but I just want to, I mean, this is just kind of a blunt question, but who's in charge of the school? Who's leading the school?
From the time I started interacting with the school, which I say is from conception, Mrs. Knuckles has been the one that I have turned to get most of the answers to any kind of questions I have. And that's the person I had interacted with mostly I know others came on later, but she was the primary person that I had interacted with.
You said Mrs. Knuckles? Okay.
I would say in my experience, I've seen both of the Knuckles and Ms. Gober in leadership positions. I'm really not qualified to say beyond the title of superintendent. I mean, I would think Mr. Knuckles is the superintendent, but what I see is a group of people that are banding together to do whatever it's going to take to serve the children.
But in your position as a board member and hearing the conversation today and realizing that, I mean, and from their own testimonies, the number of things, do you have concerns about leadership right now and some of the necessary things that are going to have to be put in place, or from the governing side of it, that with your, that's a heavy duty?
It is, and obviously I can't say that I wouldn't have concerns after listening to what's here today, but I have a career that's built upon solving problems, and I don't see this as insurmountable with resources and a commitment to get it done. Yes, it will take a plan. Yes, it will require follow-up. Yes, it will require governance. But that's all what we sign up for as we become board members.
And it is, but some of these issues that are brought out today, especially with regards to special education, there are state and federal issues, and there are student rights, and some of the finance things. And you all mentioned 3 different people right now in terms of who's leading the school, and the one who actually has the assignment or title does not have required training in the financial area, and so I just wanted to have that brief conversation with you. Thank you.
I do want to come in on just your question, and you asked about concerns. Yes, I do have some concerns from what I've heard here today, but as my other member pointed out, they are not insurmountable. I know from my experience while working, I've sit on numerous boards, and I've been chairman of numerous boards in other professions, as well as in some related to schools. And finance, that is one of the major areas I think we, with proper consulting and individuals there to guide, that can be handled. Now, some of the other governing issues, a lot of this is just simply sitting down, and we as board members, new board members, can sit down and monitor as well as question some of the things that I'm hearing here today. I definitely have gotten some insight into some areas in which we can, as a board, make sure we monitor to make sure those things occur.
And just to follow up, would part of that be a close investigation into the leadership and making a determination, so maybe that there is stability?
Yes,
and clear.
Definitely, to make sure that is stability and leadership, as well as a clear line of organizational structure. Make sure the alignments are proper, and individuals who are that need to be in positions are in the right positions, and everything should be able to operate the way it's designed.
Miss Virginia Perry from the Charter Unit. Miss Virginia Perry.
Yes, ma'am.
I know that you've been working with this school the time period that you've been here at the department. Have you found the school to be responsive to your requests when needing paperwork or responding to issues? Have they been responsive in a timely manner?
They have been responsive, but it might take going to the school from time to time to get a response. But they've been responsive overall.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Gober, you made that your first sign of concern was the students not showing up. So did y'all have a decline of student enrollment this year?
We had 181 students who had enrolled and filled out enrollment packets for the first day, and then the first day 134 actually came to the door.
Okay, so 134. How many students do you have actually enrolled right now?
151.
Okay. Okay, and then I know that you guys work with APSRC.
Yes, ma'am.
Who have y'all worked with in the last month? I mean, how often have you worked with APSRC on a regular basis?
Daily.
Daily since when?
Over the last, probably since, we contacted them first in October. We keep communication open, but over the last 2 months, probably daily,
Okay.
someone with our staff, with someone with their staff.
Can I speak to someone from APSRC who would like to, who's been working with them?
Mark White, Director of Legal Services for APSRC. And I'll just say we've had numerous staff members working with the school, so depending on the questions, I may need to pull someone else up to help.
That's what I wanted to hear from you was, have you on a regular basis been working with the school, and have you found the school to be responsive to the requests and needs?
We have been working intensively with them over the last couple of months, trying to, I would put it as clearing up some of these log jams, making sure there's communication going on between the school and the special ed unit, making sure the finance issues have been addressed, helping them make sure they're responding to legislative audit appropriately and timely. So we are continuing to work with that, and we'll do so for the foreseeable future.
Prior to the last couple of months, they've been members since they were authorized in 2014. Have they not utilized what you guys offer on a regular basis up to this point?
I know there's been some work from the school last fall, and I was not involved with that, so I can't give you any details, but I know there was some work last fall.
Okay, but not on a regular basis.
Let me check.
I mean, I'm delighted to hear that we've been working on a regular basis the last couple months. I'm delighted to hear that. I'm just saying, up to that point, had that not been the case?
If it is, I'm not aware of it.
Not aware.
I'm just looking, no, I don't believe so.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thanks.
Dr. Gocher?
And I'll rest upon someone from charter or legal. Do they currently have a waiver of licensure for administrator?
Mary Perry, will you please give us a moment to check that?
Yes, please.
They have a waiver of qualified teacher in every room, 615-1004. You asked specifically about leadership.
Yes, ma'am.
They have a waiver concerning the principal's responsibility, 617-302. And then all the others go with the classroom teacher. I don't see a waiver here pertaining to superintendents. Oh, okay. Jennifer says I've not seen,
Okay.
that she's got it on the big chart. So that would be more accurate. There may have been something that happened in the meeting.
Understood.
I know that, hang on, I'm checking the other one. They do have it does look like they have, yes, they do have a waiver of the superintendent licensing requirements.
Ms. Davis, while you're there, do they have a copy of their charter? Has a copy of their charter been provided to them?
I don't know if there has been or not. I don't know. When were they started? I have not done one for them, but that doesn't mean that there was not one done prior to me. So we're checking.
And have a follow-up whenever it's appropriate.
Okay, so they started in the 14-15 school year, so I don't know if they had, since I've only been with the department for 2 years. But we can check and see if there is one.
Okay.
I mean, they may know if they have a copy of their charter, but I will check and see if we or the charter office has a copy.
Thank you.
Ms. Davis.
Ms. Davis?
So does an administrator, superintendent need a license in any area to serve in that position based upon the waivers that have been granted by this panel and approved by the Board of Education?
No, they don't have to have the superintendent administrator license, but like all the other requirements in regards to, training and things like that, I believe that they still have to, do that necessary training. Tier
Like
one
the Tier
thing.
1, et cetera, okay. Because,
Okay. We do have a signed page that they've received their contract, or that they have signed it. We have signed. Yes.
The charter?
okay.
Mr. Rogers?
I just have 2 questions for the charter.
Who?
How much is your rent for your facility right now? There's one.
$13,000 a month.
13.2.
And what's included in the rent? Just the location?
Yes, ma'am, just for the building.
No utilities or,
No, ma'am.
What about
That's all
upkeep?
separate. Yes, ma'am.
what about upkeep, repairs?
We're responsible for internal repairs. The external repairs, St. John Church appropriates those, and we have had some repair work done.
Sorry. And then my other question was probably beating a dead horse, but it was on the cycle for the December 1st cycle counts. So is it 10 kids or is it 21 kids? And the name that I heard earlier that he indicated was getting services was not on the list that y'all turned in to my finance unit today. So that still kind of concerns me that what Lisa was talking about, what Ms. Haley's talking about, we're still chasing kids. Because if your board member who just said his child is receiving services, I'm not the greatest speller in the world, but I'm pretty sure I don't see that kid's name on this list that was given to us today. So,
I have 21 folders
and so,
in my locked box.
okay, well, that's,
So we will sort this out with you this week because we have to finalize our counts, but we don't know the number either, Mr. Rogers, because we have 3 or 4 different lists going.
I don't want you to say your name again. I don't want you to say your name again.
I wasn't going to. No, I just wanted to clarify, I did not say my daughter was currently receiving services.
Oh,
She
okay.
had received them in the past.
Okay, that may be why it's, okay, thank you.
Ms. Haley? You have more?
I don't have another question, but we discussed this with you, Ms. Gober, and Mr. Knuckles, and you're both very well aware of, IDEA is an individual entitlement, and it's a very serious issue, and we understand the Montessori model is a good thing for kids, and y'all are doing good things, but there's a federal law that we have to follow and you have to follow, and you're responsible for the services provided until such time as those documents are changed, which they have not, and ultimately, we're responsible. So it's a very serious issue, and not only that, they have rights in terms of discipline and just a plethora of other things, and so do their parents. So we really need to work together about professional development and training, because I'm concerned, again, about the system and your ability. I think you mean well, and I know you're doing a good job, Ms. Gober, with the kids, but you're going to need a lot of support, and we realize that.
I would agree that.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am, thank you.
Any other questions? So, Ms. Gober, I have a little table written up here on my page, and so those issues that you outlined in your presentation, special ed, one of the issues, I've written you down as the responsible person to get those issues resolved.
Yes, ma'am.
Finance, who's the responsible person for getting all of the financial report information resolved?
Mr. Knuckles will be there.
Who's going to be responsible for giving us accurate data?
Mr. Knuckles, we.
Okay. And my last question is for the board members. Sorry, this is not exercise class, but you can probably count some of it. You're getting your steps in today. As new board members, do either of you or both of you have a copy of the charter? Or the contract for the charter?
Yes.
And you've read that?
No. My first meeting was February 28th, so
I've been working on that video, of the training. That's why I spent most of my time trying to get up to there.
So we take it very seriously. I mean, the information that we're getting is that students are, that there's education going on and that it's great education. You yourself have testified that, but the issues are very clearly identified. So, board, before we take any action, I want to make sure you have any more questions, and then I have a couple more people for public comment. Your question?
I'll listen to hear from legal, the board's options, of the panel's options.
Let's get the last two.
Exactly.
Thank you, gentlemen. I have Anil Denman. I just have two. Anil Denman.
Yes, ma'am, we're at the Complete Consulting. We signed the wrong form coming in.
No problem. And a Darian Hamilton.
Darren,
All right. Ms. Davis, may we take a quick break and come back and...
Of course.
All right.
You can do whatever you like. I mean, within reason. Within reason.
5 minutes. 5 minutes. 5 minutes.
Okay.
let's resume. Any additional questions? Are you ready for discussion? Ms. Smith?
So this is, we're just open to discussion, so we can talk amongst ourselves, right? Right. Okay, so, just kind of where I'm falling with this, I don't doubt the curriculum side or the intent, but I do find evidence of neglect on the management side. And I guess this is kind of where the role of waivers comes in. I recognize that we have waivers for certain things, but having a waiver does not excuse a school from the lack of knowledge about special ed, or the lack of knowledge about finances, or the lack of knowledge about how to license, the lack of knowledge. I mean, so you might have a waiver where it is, you have a waiver for the superintendent license, but that doesn't mean that that person doesn't need to have the knowledge about the finances. So I just kind of feel, I just have the thought that there's been some neglect in those areas that need to be addressed immediately. I would like for us to discuss possibly a probationary status with an action plan that is outlined, that the charter unit works with this school, that outlines the specific areas of data, finance, special ed, and this board, and that there are specific actions outlined within that action plan in that probationary status. At that point, the school can work with APSRC, work with members at the department to meet those goals that are established within that probationary plan, and then come back to us for review in possibly 3 to 6 months. To something that I would like us to consider maybe thinking about doing. And then in 3 to 6 months, whatever timeline we'd set, if it's not cleaned up, because when we have 151 students, we should be able to know how many IEP folders we have. I was a principal of a school of over 600, and I knew we knew our numbers. So 151 students is not a number that makes me go, oh, it's just a really big school, or it's just we should know. Okay, we should know our numbers. So I would like us to maybe thought of probationary status to get the management side cleaned up, because that's where I feel like we have fallen short here.
Dr. Pepper?
And I remember when we approved this charter, and one of the things that I really liked was the fact that, up until that time, Montessori was found in private schools, and it was an opportunity for kids in Little Rock that otherwise wouldn't have that choice to be able to choose the Montessori. So I appreciate Ms. Smith's comments, and a probationary time period with a clear plan could be a good thing. I think what I would really advocate is the leadership has got to be defined, and the organization within the management, because otherwise we will continue to see these problems over and over again. Realizing that there may still be issues that come out with standards for accreditation because of the special education issues. I do think that the educational benefits, because this is something that is a choice for students in Little Rock that they may not otherwise have. But I don't think we can be very patient for very long on the management issues.
Madam Chair, I'm not sure that probation is where I am at this point. When I realized that 2 of the 3 leaders had ample opportunity to get Tier 1 training, and the law does provide that fiscal distress can be a a reason for lack of Tier 1 training. I'm not convinced that our special ed team is convinced that the special ed issues are on a fast track for correction. Our office has not received a 1599 disclosure statement. There was an email back in December 21st of 2016 that expressed concern from our charter office of the relationship of Mr. and Mrs. Knuckles. And as of March 15th, there is no 1599 in our possession. So from my chair, I'm not sure that probation is where I am at this point.
Ms. Haley, how long will it take to clean up the special ed issues?
Well, getting the paperwork in place is one thing, but having an understanding of the law and the requirements is another thing. And I'm sitting here thinking, I'm sort of wearing two hats now as a member of the charter panel and director of special education, but I mean, I'm almost to the point of saying you need to devote some of your funds to get someone in there to assist you that's not a part-time person after school and on Saturdays. I know Ms. Gober's doing the right thing, and I know you all are trying to provide a good education for kids, but what we heard a little bit when we were there is, well, it's the Montessori model when we were talking about special education. And we understand that. We understand that the Montessori model is good for kids, including kids with IEPs, but they still have to get the services on their IEP, and we still have to follow the law. And you don't want to be sitting in a due process hearing or a state complaint or a federal lawsuit over students that didn't receive services or their rights because you didn't know, or because teachers didn't know what the kids' accommodations were because they didn't have copies of the IEPs and all those kinds of things that we've talked about. So with support, you would not be the first to have someone on an ALP and not a lot of knowledge about special ed, but that combined with some of the waivers and things like that in terms of the leadership not having that background, it makes it a little more difficult.
Mr. Rogers, what will it take to clean up the finance?
I don't know if I can answer that question. I think it really depends on them. I mean, I think that they've seen what we're looking at today and what it would, I hope what they've been working with APSRC to understand what it would take to get there. And so I don't know. I don't know if we could get, I don't know. What I was thinking about was Stacy's suggestion. And I just don't know if that's where I am right now either. I'm definitely not 6 months. Because that puts you into August or September, and there is 151 kids at this school right now, and 6 months would put right when school's starting back up. So I just don't know right now, but I definitely not 6 months.
And I know that we're all at different places, but so what if we thought about probationary for 3 months with them coming back in 3 months with this cleaned up, and then monthly checks with the charter unit? And it's their responsibility. That's the thing. It's not the ADE charter unit's responsibility to clean up Rockbit Bridges data or the special ed piece we're here to provide the support and services needed to help them. But it would be their responsibility to reach out to their partners to assist them in creating a plan. So possibly probationary status coming back in 3 months, and it should be cleaned up. Or you guys may have a different suggestion. That's just kind of where I was heading. Now, I definitely think that there's evidence today of lack of action until being called in. I definitely think there's evidence of that. I think that there's evidence today to state that the board has not been a governing board up to this point. that we have made an attempt to make sure that we put 3 new board members on to have a 7-member board, but I don't feel like up to this point that the board has been the one helping make decisions as much as maybe just being informed about what's going on. And so I think that there's much work for the board. I mean, even today, the board president not being present today to understand the severity of what we're talking about just kind of shows me that maybe they don't understand how serious this is. So, I mean, I think having an active board that is really taking ownership in some of these and asking the tough questions. That's the job of the board, is to ask the tough questions. And at this point right now, I don't think that we have that in place. I think we have well-intentioned people who have the best intentions, but there is a management side to this that, and I think that the fact that you had a declining enrollment, you pointed out earlier that you saw that as a first sign. I think there are several symptoms here to say that we have a sick system that we need to devote some time to. I'm struggling with this a little bit because I think on the education side, they have some good things going on, but on the management side, they have some poor things going on, where most of the time when we have charters before us, we see deficits, severe deficits on the education side, but they kind of got the management side right. And, you know, so today I'm more, you know, it's kind of flipped on me. I do think this is data entry and finance piece, and some of these things can be cleaned up if it's intentional and people really work at doing so. But those are just my thoughts.
Mr. Lester?
Do we know when the legislative audit will be finalized? I know he was talking about that. Do you know when your audit is?
Yes, sir. According to the legislative audit, the audit concludes on the 17th
Of March?
of this month. Yes,
Friday.
I think that would be helpful. I think that'd be very helpful to see.
Mr. Rogers, how quickly do we get a copy of that audit?
Well, we continue.
So, when you do have your exit conference, would you be acceptable to allowing the charter unit to be there and to receive a copy of the audit?
Yes, sir, of course.
So possibly a couple of weeks after. Go ahead, the microphone.
What will happen is after audit gets through, they go back to their office and they compile the papers, and then they come back out to have you sign the exit conference. You have an exit conference where you sign, acknowledging that you received a copy of it, and they'll go over the audit findings with you. And at that time, you'll get a copy of it, and that's usually, it would depend on how busy leg audit is. It's 2 to 3 weeks after that. But yeah, if they'll have if they'll have the charter unit there with them just to go over the audit, I'm still.
I'd like to see the federal side too. I mean, see the whole picture. I'd like to see the federal side too, the whole picture of their finances. So.
Thinking of the families that may have to make some decisions. Spring break is next week. 3 months would put us well into the summer. And if a decision goes poorly, that's a very short window for families to make some decisions. And secondly, I just, as I look back through my notes and look at the timeline, I just feel more than enough time has been granted to correct many of these issues. That's all.
Any additional comment? Ms. Davis?
Yeah, let's talk to him.
If you will remind us of what our options are, and if you have any additional comments to add?
I do not have any additional comments, and you can, of course, take no action today. You may place them on probation with a plan to come back and what information you'd like to see at that time. You can modify their charter. You can revoke their charter. Or you can have them come back next month and table this decision and have them come back next month pending any information that you may want to see additionally.
Can I ask? I'm going to take us back for just a minute in our discussion, and I understand what Dr. Gocher's saying too. To me, it seems like there are a few things that I think a lot of things have been clarified with today's discussion. And so my question then for the panel is, over the next 30 days, we'll have the standards for accreditation reports, if I understood them correct. Okay, we'll have audit. Would we have the federal information as well? It'll be in the leg audit. Okay. In 30 days or next month, would we have a pretty good grasp on whether or not the special ed is cleaned up?
Well, they will most likely receive a corrective action plan. Right now, they're in a verification period, and they have to have that, depending on what the issue is, corrected as quickly as possible, but no later than 1 year. So there's no way they'll have all the issues corrected, but we'll kind of know what their plan is.
We would know the plan in 30 days. I'm thinking the other thing is we could, hopefully in 30 days, our present board members could help the others understand some of the issues going on, and possibly we could ask them to come back with a clear corrective action plan in terms of the leadership, the training, some of these other issues, but you all may disagree, but maybe possibly after today we could come back and look at where they are and what they're going to say, because I want to be sure that there's going to be the appropriately licensed special education teacher. I would want to see a commitment from this person that they feel like it's going to be working for them next year. If not, then it will be up to Ms. Gober to make that commitment, and she will have to, this summer, make adequate progress for her first year, which would be, I think, at least 6 hours of her coursework completed. So, I think there are some commitments that could come back to us in writing in 30 days, possibly. I think we would just have a little bit of information we don't have today, but I just throw that out there.
Ms. Kaufman, I just wanted to say that I've been to Rockbridge, and what I see is a very busy place, and I see people being pulled all over the place because a child came to the office or you had to escort somebody down the hall, and I'm thinking about the plan, and I'm just thinking one issue may be there's not enough adults, because I know when we were there, Mr. Knuckles had a hard time even getting back to talk to us, and the phone, they have a hard time answering the phone. They're working with kids. They are. But they're all pulled working with kids all the time. And so I think, from my perspective, a plan to kind of make sure that the phones can be answered, although that's secondary. When someone said they talk to us when we're here, that means they had to go there to get an answer. When the charter unit said when we go on site, that's because sometimes the phone doesn't get answered because they're in classrooms. And so this is just all interrelated, and so just thinking about the planning, if it were in 30 days, addressing some of those just logistical, how can you do paperwork when no one has the time to do it or get things in place?
Again, I think it goes back to, this is a management issue. It is purely a management issue that has to be addressed. It has to be addressed. We do have a meeting scheduled for Charter Authorizing Panel on May 17th, which would be 2 months.
Okay.
Is that not? Go ahead.
Well, no. I just will remind you that any decision or action that you take or inaction that you take regarding them does go before the state board for review. And if they choose to review your decision, that if it's going to push it out into the next school year. So I just want to remind you, be aware of that.
So if we made a decision in May, the state board wouldn't even be able to review it until
June.
And
July.
then
Right, they would decide in June whether
they
to
would
review
decide
or
in
not.
June to
So if
review, and then in July, they would make a final decision.
well,
If
they decided to review,
if we
yes.
went that road.
Yes.
Okay.
Do we also have April 19th?
We do have something, I think, scheduled in April, but I don't know if that's the exact date, but there is an April. It is the 19th. But I know that that was mentioned about in time for students to start, so I just want to remind you of that.
So if they came back in April with that written plan, is that possible?
If they come back in April? Yes. I mean, what you could do, there's a couple different ways you could do it. I mean, if you want them to come back in April with this additional information, the audit report and things like that, my recommendation would be that you table a decision to April and have time to review that, and then make your decision in April, and then the state board can review or not review, make that decision in May, and if they did choose to review, that would be June, and it would still be before school started. And the reason I suggest tabling it rather than placing them on probation for 30 days, because if you place them on probation, that's an action that has to go in front of the state board, and then you'd kind of be taking action over action. So my recommendation would be that you table any decision if that's what you'd like, pending this information.
And so if we table today, then that does not go to the board to review?
That's correct. And then in April, you would make a motion to take it off the table and to make a decision based on the information that you've received.
What's the latest charter's ever been closed in the school year?
You had one close about this time of the year during its first year of operation, when the board closed it about in March, and the board closed it effective immediately, basically, when they took action that year, and that year would have been spring of 2012. I believe it was March of 2012. Typically, other than that, if a school's being closed, it closes at the end of the contract year. It would close effective June 30th. That's been the most common practice, and the charter ends June 30th of whatever year. And there's a whole series of closeout procedures that are in our charter rules that pertain to open enrollment closures, should that be the route that's taken.
Madam Chair, I'm concerned just by the mere discussion of this, what this will do to the existing families now that are in the campus, on the campus, the families that are enrolled. I go back to two concerns: time for families to make decisions, and the ample time that's been given to this charter to make the changes. And I'm just grappling with those, and I'm just not convinced that probationary action or tabling is best for these kids and families.
Any other discussion? Head out, I'm ready for a motion.
I move for revocation of the charter ending this contract year.
It's been a motion by Dr. Gocher, seconded by Mr. Rogers, to revocate the charter effective June 30th, 2017. Discussion? I'm going to do a roll call vote. Mr. Lester?
No.
Mr. Rogers? Dr. Gocher?
Aye.
Ms. Smith?
No.
Dr. Pfeffer?
No.
Ms. Haley?
No.
4-2, motion fails.
I'd like to make a motion that we table it for 30 days in time to get the information referenced earlier. That's probably just the motion. Table it for 30 days and come back
Can I,
to review okay?
can I just make a suggestion that you table it to the next meeting, because it may or may
Okay.
not be right at 30 days, and
I understand. Okay, table it to the next meeting so that we can then review the additional information from leg audit, from standards accreditation, from any updates to special education, any updates from the charter unit, and I guess I would need to say, I would like for them to come with a plan for correction should they be able to continue.
A written plan.
Written plan.
A second.
A motion has been made by Dr. Pfeffer, seconded by Ms. Smith, to table the action until the next meeting, April 19th. At such time, we will review additional information that has been requested, including a written plan for correction of action. Discussion? Take a roll call vote. Mr. Lester?
Yes.
Mr. Rogers?
No.
Dr. Gocher?
No.
Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Dr. Pfeffer?
Yes.
Ms. Haley?
Yes.
Vote is 4-2 for the motion. Motion carries. All right, if you'll take a moment to go into the reporting document, and then we'll go around and let each person give their
I don't think that you need to put the reason why you tabled it, because you're not
Okay.
making a decision on the action item.
Great, we'll move along faster. I want to make sure that we have everything listed of what's going to be required when they come back in 30 days. And what do you have on your list, Ms. Davis?
I have the leg audit report, the standards report, an update, or any updates available from the charter unit, from the special education unit, and a written plan for corrective action from the charter itself.
And
Go ahead.
an approved 1599 disclosure statement,
Or at least that one has been requested.
or whatever the due process is. Yes, ma'am.
Optimistically approved, but
Well, evidence that all data has been cleaned up. Accurate numbers, accurate reflection. The data has to be cleaned up. Evidence that the board has a plan of training. I mean, I just need evidence, and that the board themselves understands their role.
And Madam Chair, I mean, and earlier I made the comment, I do think that this is a good option for kids, and because that side of it, I feel is in place, that kids can benefit. That's why I made the motion to give them a little bit of time. But I also said, we're not going to be patient for very long. And without leadership, and we're not seeing strong leadership today, and without that, it's going to be very difficult to vote for them to continue forward. So I just want to really make that evident, that yeah, this is a chance for them to really gut check and turn it around.
So in the written corrective action plan, will you expect to see the person that's going to be held responsible, the timeline,
Yes,
and the more detailed, the better?
and
Professional
responsiveness.
development that's going to happen if they're going to get some outside help, that needs to be in there.
Yeah, this is just my own comment, that I definitely want a plan, but I want, in 30 days, I want you to come back here and say, okay, here's our data, it's clean, we know these numbers, and this is why. This is what we've done with our finances, and this is the training we've had since. I need action, that it's been done. What can you get done in 30 days? I mean, however many days it is. I mean, I need action.
And I just want to, we will need a written plan and any documents, so that way you have time to review it at least about 2 weeks prior. We do understand that, that there's still a lot of things that can be done between the time that they submit and the time of the board meeting or the next panel meeting, but just be aware that some of the documents you may get at least will, we do need them earlier with some preliminary stuff.
How many days ahead of time do you post, Ms. Perry?
For a regularly scheduled meeting like the April meeting, we typically post on, post by Friday, not the Friday before, the Friday before that. So that it's up there approximately 10 business days.
But that's mainly the courtesy of posting for us, correct?
That's correct. That's a courtesy of posting for
So-
you. So we don't have to post it that quickly.
Yeah.
You can see that the meeting for today, that posting went up on Friday.
Yeah.
So we can allow, especially if you direct us to today, to allow them more time so that can be a little more
So
current.
the next meeting is on what day?
It's on Wednesday, April the 19th.
I think it would be acceptable to have the items posted by that Monday, and that would give us all the, is that too late?
Monday the 17th.
Mm-hmm.
And is that going to be for everything that might appear on the agenda that day, or are you talking this specific item?
I think everything.
Okay?
For this specific thing.
For Ross.
Is that too late for you?
So I think what Ms. Perry and team can do is you can go ahead and post the
Absolutely.
agenda at the appropriate time. But if they have additional documents, they can be uploaded as late as early Monday morning.
That's great.
That's just so you can have more check marks of completed.
That's right. We just want to be very transparent but we also want to give them as much time as possible. So we'll work with them on that and make sure that we have it where it's posted, where everything they're going to give us in hand, we can post by noon on Monday. We'll put that in writing to a letter to them as well.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. We have one more item. Would you like to go ahead and complete that one? Yeah. Yes. All right. Action item number 4.
Who's introducing that? Are you?
Is this next item a voting item?
Mary Perry, at the state board meeting on Thursday, March the 9th, the board requested that the panel could review information about covenant keepers, including but not limited to identifying the challenges, and if the challenges are correctable, and let me back up and say, focus specifically on academic performance, and then if their challenges are correctable. The item is placed on your agenda simply to discuss what action, if any, you want to take about the request made by the state board, that you look into this, and everyone's been notified, the charter has been notified that you won't be conducting any review today or anything like that. This is just to decide whether or not you want to have that happen, and if so, whether or not what you might want to see from the charter. Please know that Dr. Valerie Tatum is here in the audience, but she understands that this is not a hearing time for her to do a presentation for you today.
Ms. Davis, will you advise us of our possibilities?
Yes, so you can go ahead and make a decision today of whether or not you want to review or not review this charter. And if you choose to review, then we would set that at the next, the next meeting, or a different meeting should you want to push it out to May or a later date. You can table this decision. Apparently that's my standard answer today. You can table it to the next meeting, so that way you can gather any additional information. I know this request just came in last week, and so if you want to gather your own additional information regarding the charter and its operations so you can better review and be prepared, you can table the decision the item until next month, and then give you time to review and then make a decision of whether or not you want to review or not review. And if you choose to review, then we'll set a date.
And, sorry, and that's something I was thinking through on timing. I mean, there's been concerns about academic performance at Covenant Keepers in the past. And I think, there've been several reviews done. Even if we make the decision that we're going to do a full review, or at least a full review of academic issues at the next meeting, what data are we going to have that's different from something that's been reviewed recently? Are we going to have any new information? And I don't know whether there are some issues that have been going on that the charter panel has noticed or that have come up in academic distress meetings. So my opinion is, I would almost like to have ADE input in terms of, is there new information to review before we get results from maybe this next state assessment, and, move even maybe a little bit later. So I don't know. I wasn't here at the board meeting, so I'm not really sure why the request was made at this time for that.
The request was made because the state board continued the classification of academic distress as a
Which was
district.
based on an assessment that was taken back last year in the designation. Okay, so I don't know that there's really been new revelations. But
So there was another concordance score reported.
okay.
Discussion?
I mean, are there issues that would special ed could bring to the table, or standards, or curriculum and instruction? Are there issues that others could bring to the table so that we would actually know what we're going to review with them before we actually bring them in to do the
I
review?
don't think any of us were there for the state board, so I guess I'm confused. What could we do that the state board couldn't do?
It has to come back through this process.
Okay, so
So could
Okay.
they not, could the state, I guess, because that's why I'm confused. Does it have to come back through us, or could they have just asked for their own full review to determine if they saw problems that they've never seen before? Does it have to come to us?
Well, I mean, hang on, let's confirm.
We can bring a charter school in at any time.
Yeah.
Agreed? So if there's a data point later in the future, I think we can still honor our state board's request, but wait for the next tier of appropriate data to do a full review. It's just a thought, and Ms. Davis is finished now.
Okay. No, I mean, like I say, the big thing, I mean, you guys are the authorizer, and the state board specifically requested that you make the decision to review them. They're making that request of you, much like, somebody else independently could make that request. And so that's why I think it would be imperative that you make that determination. One thing to consider, I know that there was a timing issue, just much like the last action item, that if you need to get additional information, you could choose to, in your spare time, have another charter panel meeting next week to make the decision. That would give you a week to gather any information from the department. Then you could come back, have reviewed that, make your decision, and if you choose to review them, you could also hear them in the April meeting. So that way, then, the state board would have the option to review or not review in May, and it would still wrap up the school year. If that's an issue, if that's a timing issue for you.
So how many years have we been on academic distress that was continued? Is this, do we know? It's the 4th year. Okay.
When was the last time, wasn't it recent, that Covenant Keepers was renewed?
For 3 years, is that?
No, we were just renewed March 2016.
That's what I thought.
Renewed March 2016 for how many years?
For 3 years.
For 3 years.
That was a question the board asked too. Their contract would end on June 30th, 2021, the current contract.
Okay.
That was since renewal.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ms. Davis?
Right. Dr. Tatum wants you to know a couple of things. We had a conversation. Miss Virginia Perry and I had a conversation with her earlier this week about this request, and she pointed out, and it was actually been discussed many times, they fairly recently presented in front of the committee that deals with academic distress. They're scheduled to be back there in May. Is that correct, Dr. Tatum? June, okay. But within a few months, they're scheduled to be back there. And Dr. Tatum is acutely aware that they are working diligently to prepare their students for the spring assessment.
So
would request not to have to appear again before the spring assessment's over. That's simply their request, though. I just put that out there for you.
Covenant Keepers presented in front of the Standing Committee on Academic Distress on June 13th, 2017, and they're currently scheduled for June 9th, 2017.
Thank you.
However, Ms. Zook's question to the board was, do they need to come to the Standing Committee? And when the board decided that they wanted to send them through our review process, they would make that date tentative as if needed, or could change it.
So what date did they present to the committee?
January 13th, 2017.
January 3rd, okay.
Just a minute. Read from my minutes. Covenant Keepers did not appeal the classification of academic distress. The state board voted unanimously to maintain the classification of district in academic distress for Covenant Keepers Charter School. Ms. Perry said the charter expired June 30th, 2019. Ms. Newton moved, seconded by Ms. Zook, to request the Charter Authorizing Panel review Covenant Keepers Charter School regarding academic performance, including but not limited to identifying the challenges and if the challenges are correctable. The motion carried unanimously.
So the state board did have the option to call them directly to come into them before, but they made the choice to send them back to us for recommendations?
Is that true, Ms. Davis?
I wasn't here at the meeting either at the state board last week, so I believe that the request was that you call them in for a review.
I think the board was of the understanding that they needed to come through the entire process so that if we took action to put them on probation or change the charter or revoke, that it would have followed the due process.
Okay. Motion.
You go ahead.
Make a motion that we review at the next meeting.
Second.
Can we have discussion?
Yes.
So my only thought is, will we have the information? Do we have new information really to review? And do we? Yeah, I don't know. Again, I guess I would want us to are there things we need to look at internally and gather information to even know what all is it that we need to review? Because if you're just talking about academic performance and identifying challenges, and if the challenges are correctable, to me, that goes beyond just how they're performing, like what are their challenges. So I would want to hear from people who have been in the school, what are what are our ADE people, what do we see? Because I don't know that listening to just the school talk about, and we look on paper at academic indicators, if that's going to be possible. So that's my only concern, is just, are we just going to go through and then be stuck in what do we decide? And I mean, we all know we're in a transition right now with our accountability system. That has made our decisions a lot tougher, and we know as we move to a new accountability system and put some new support things in place, I think we'll be in a lot better shape in the future to make decisions about this. But the request to identify challenges, and if the challenges are correctable, worries me, because I don't know what they would be bringing to us next month, and to do another full hearing, it is very complicated.
Ms. Kaufman, and I was thinking that too, is when we decided to talk to Rockbridge, we were told we needed to talk about specific items, or if it was the full charter, and I don't have enough information to know right now specific items to ask for or to provide, or that kind of thing, without us having another meeting if we decide to do that.
I think the focus of this is the fact that they've been on academic distress for 4 years, and that they presented to the State Board Committee on Academic Distress, and they found that there's still issues. And I mean, I don't know that it's other issues pertaining to the other than the academics. But again, I agree. We're not going to have the new test data for the spring yet. It will be right in the middle of spring testing. I mean, I agree with all those.
I'm just looking at on our see which sheet I'm looking at. Our agenda, is that wording at the very end of that? Is that highly reflective of the statements from the state board on what we should be looking at? So that's what we should use as the guide for that in describing, correct?
Yes, but we can certainly add additional information. They were generic in that, because they were on academic distress for the 4th time, that we need to really take a close look at it.
Thank you.
But they did not give us a timeline for that.
I don't think I understand what identifying the challenges and are the challenges correctable. Just because when it talk about that with academics, is it talking about testing? Is it talking about finance? Is it talking about data? I don't know that I understand that, and nor do I know if we have any new information that, I mean, obviously that's still bad. They're still having some issues with academics because they were looking at it, but I don't know what I guess I'm just kind of confused about what we're supposed to do.
Okay, I think we're kind of, I think that this could be a potential revocation. And so in talking in terms of a possible revocation, we're doing the same timeline conversation we've had earlier, that if that's what it could possibly end up with, when is the latest that we would call them in here to do a hearing, to be fair to the people who are employed, the students who attend those schools. So if that's what we're possibly looking into, then we're stuck with hearing an April or May hearing, if that's the decision we're being charged to make a recommendation about. And when the state board is asking us, based on 4 years of academic distress, to relook at a charter, I mean, I think that's kind of the charge. I mean, I think that's the charge. You need to determine, after looking at this, should they continue on or not and make a recommendation accordingly. I mean, I think that's what we're being asked to do.
So you're moving it to a full hearing?
I think that when we review them, that we're making a recommendation of that. Is that not the case?
Well, I mean, what you're wanting, it would be a hearing just like the last action item was. And what you can do, I know if there's questions about what we need to request, and if you choose to make a decision to review today, you can take, a couple days to each individually send to me or the charter office the specific items that you would like to see, so that way when we notify the charter, we can put those items in, so that way they will be on notice of what it is that you would like to see, and you would at least maybe have a few days to think about it since you're kind of in this position. So that is an option as well.
Well, the school improvement team should have a
Right.
yeah, we should have 45-day reports. We should have all the things from school improvement that were presented to the state board when we were asked to review it. I mean, to me, that's the evidence we're looking at.
Did I hear mention there was a new concordance score?
Yes.
Okay,
That, yeah, that's from benchmarked, from Park to ACT Aspire.
Yeah, she said 2019.
When will the new test data be available?
July 1.
Okay.
And then
Because
sometime after that for concordance.
So-
Yeah, testing doesn't occur until, that's what Dr. Tatum was talking about, April, May.
Yeah. So, Ms. Smith, your motion would include in the identifying the challenges, and if the challenges are correctable, it would include information from our school improvement unit, recommendations from our school improvement unit, and any other unit that would have relevant information that might be lending to challenges of academic success in that school.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, we'd go through the whole list with Ms. Davis.
I think what was presented to the committee is what we're, part of the things that we'd review.
Any additional discussion before we revisit our motion?
And just so I'm clear, that would potentially, if the motion is any other unit that would have information that would lend itself to the challenges, that would also include finance, anything else, correct? Okay.
We'll go through and make sure that you have everything. Let's first decide if we're going to review.
Okay.
So I have a motion by Ms. Smith, second by Dr. Gocher, to review covenant keepers at the next meeting. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. So let's be a little more detailed to Ms. Davis what you want to see.
I want to see the documentation that was provided about academic distress. So from school improvement unit, that's the information I would like to.
So all the comprehensive, complete list of
Yep.
45-day plans
The 45-day plans, and would need school improvement to be here.
and the concordance.
How the decision was made and where they fall out over the 4-year period.
Okay.
And
So that's 2 different units. Who else? What else?
I'd like to have information on their estimated teacher vacancies and their plans to fill key positions if they are going to have any vacancies in any of those.
Anything else?
You want to do finance?
Can we request that the
Finance.
board be represented?
Pardon me?
Can we request that the board of directors be represented?
Mm-hmm.
Covenant keepers
Covenant Keeper Board of Directors.
have to be.
Yeah, I guess since we're doing challenges, the challenges aren't correctable, it would include finance and
think it'd
data.
have to.
I mean, I just feel like there's, that government, look, you're having to get on me all the time. Yes, I feel like it had to be finance and data.
I think special ed would be reflected in school improvement, but we'll take a look and see if there's additional information.
And Ms. Davis, if there have been any comprehensive reviews, like OSR visits or anything out of public school accountability?
Yeah, to me, this is the accountability piece. I mean, that's what's weighed I think when we talk about the idea of renewing applications in here, and we argue on, is it 3 years, is it 10 years, is it 15, could it be 20? We say we have systems in place to wave a red flag when there is something wrong. So academic distress, our school improvement unit, that's one of those red flags. They're waving the flag. This is the 4th year, and now we're reviewing. That's the system in place that we have to say, okay, we need to go back and look at it. So I don't know that it's, and I do think that when you have systems, you do have several areas that are symptomatic, and I think we saw that earlier. There's more than one thing usually happening when you have a system that's has an issue.
And I think on my shop, talking about what Mr. Rogers was referencing earlier, might have been on the data reporting still having some issues with accurate student enrollment reporting.
Yes, that's.
Any clarification, Ms. Davis?
No, but I'm going to read this back to you just to make sure that I didn't miss something. Okay, so you would like to see documentation that provided regarding academic distress, including the 45-day plans, any information from school improvement in addition to that unit being represented, the concordance and pretty much everything over a 4-year period, which would also include special education, but they're also going to check into their own reporting on that. An estimated amount of teacher vacancy and any plans to fill those positions. You're requesting that all personnel from the charter that could possibly be able to be responsive to any of your questions, including the board of directors, be present at the review. You'd like to see any comprehensive reviews.
Could you stop and back up on that one?
Mhm.
On the
Personnel.
personnel,
From the charter, anybody that can answer the questions, you'd like to have everybody who could possibly answer any of the questions that you may have be present at the review. That could possibly be, somebody from their financing staff, things of that nature, including their board of directors be represented. Any comprehensive reviews such as OSR visits? Is that OSR?
OSR.
Okay. And their financial data, especially anything that may cause, lead them challenges and lead to the academic challenges that they're having, including their data and continued problems with accurate student enrollment reporting. Did I get it all?
Only thing we left off is leg audit.
Is there a reason for leg audit? I'll have the audits.
All right, is that complete? Any issues remaining today, Ms. Davis?
I do not have any.
Please, no.
Anyone from the panel?
Were we going to vote on this sheet that was here to do this? Because there's a board sheet, yeah.
Yeah, you will need to on that one.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Ms.
Number
Haley.
4.
Did that come in a different email?
Sorry, X'd out.
The second email she sent.
Good catch, Ms. Haley.
Didn't put mine in there.
We already voted, I think.
Yes, we had a
Is it the blank voting sheet?
Oh, we didn't have to give responses. That's.
You didn't for action item number 3 because you did not make a decision on it.
But we will need to for action item 4.
Yes, because you made a decision.
Okay.
You took action on it. There you go.
Is it the blank one?
Kelly?
Yes. No, it says
there you
covenant keepers.
I gotcha. I'm
It's
good.
called blank, or it was.
It's called blank, but, yeah.
No, name has changed. Take them on.
I don't have covenant keepers.
It's the blank.
It may
voting
say
sheet.
blank, but the name has recently changed to Covenant Keepers.
And then, but this one you open it, it says it.
Yeah, it's been updated to Covenant Keepers.
Okay.
What do we Vote for to review. That's
You
right.
voted, Miss, yes, why you've voted for review. We're much snappier in the morning. Dr. Gocher?
Voted for the review. I want to honor the state board's request, but recognize the multiple academic concerns that need a thorough review from our team.
Ms. Haley?
I voted for the review due to the academic distress status.
Mr. Lester?
For the review, based upon the review academic stress status as recommended by the state.
Dr. Pfeffer?
I voted for the review to honor the recommendation by the state board.
Mr. Rogers?
I voted for the same reasons everybody's already stated.
Dr. Saunders?
Voted for state board recommendation.
Ms. Smith?
Voted for based on multiple years of academic distress designation.
Try that again.
Any additional issues before the panel today?
I don't have any, but I still have those yoga mats if you feel like you need them now.
Oh, man.
Just for a nap?
That's right.
Do you have anything? Then I'll accept a motion to adjourn.
Yes, on her comment, motion to adjourn.
Motion's been made by Dr. Saunders and seconded by Ms. Smith to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everyone.